Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll take it. Okay, the time now is currently 9:07 a.m. We are going to bring to order our board retreat in-person meeting, starting at 9. I ran a little bit late. Thank you for your patience. Roll call. So I'll start with me, Mitch Forehand, District 1.
Terrence Proctor, District 4. Peter Larson, District 5.
Scott.
Oh,
If we're,
is he?
Yeah, it wasn't producing.
Scott Whitbeck, Chief of Schools and Academics.
Amy Fleming, Chief of Finance and Operations. Carmen Russell, Sophomore Student Representative.
Greg Sherlock, District 2.
Our young District 3.
Dr. Thompson, the superintendent. Sheila Monk, KBD Collaborative.
thank you for being here, Sheila. Okay, so welcome to any guests that are online. We have anyone online? Perfect. All right. So today we are kind of going over some of our objectives, just to read off of this. Basically, we're going to be going over the approval of the agenda. Once I get through this, we will go through the board documents, review and update any of our policies, not policies in particular, but we need to review and kind of come on the same page. We're going to talk about our PAC modernization proposal, the TSD and TPMD lease proposal. So does the chair have a approval for the agenda?
So
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, without discussion, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Approval of the agenda is gone through. So starting with our board documents and review updates, Sheely, I don't know if we're going to lead right into it or if we wanted to have a discussion first or where we're going to be at.
I'm welcome to I'm trying to jump in.
All right,
So
jump
I
right in.
introduce myself and share a little bit of how we'll go through.
By all
our
means.
work.
Thank you.
All right. A little bit of the, John, what are you doing? And I'm gonna ask you, I'll do my intros and then ask you for my,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
that's all.
I got it ready.
All right, good morning, everyone. It's so good to see you. My name is Sheely Mock. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am here with KBD Collaborative. I'll explain what KBD stands for in just a moment. But I'll be facilitating some time together today, and just to give some heads up, we're going to do a lot more sort of activity, use of paper and pens and markers and stuff. So I would like to give that heads up that I'll have you doing some individual reflection, talking with each other. We'll do some large group. I'll read through all the different board documents, your values, your handbook. And so we're just going to take some time to dive in ultimately to sort of why we're here, why we govern, how we can do that most effectively, and really like dive into all the work and like purpose and that you're here for. So a little bit about the KBD Collaborative. So we started with the idea of my partners and I, we've all been in youth development and education spaces for more decades than I like to say now these days. But I started out in youth development as a Boys and Girls Club kid. After school, that's where I went and White Camp. Those were my first jobs. And as I continued to grow through those organizations, moved into supporting the adults that are working with young people, and then eventually looking at the organizations and systems. So school districts, cities, anyone that's really in service of young people, how do we do that more effectively? And really with sort of a youth positive development approach kind of at that core. And so my colleagues and I all have completely different related adjacent backgrounds, but we started KBD with this idea that we want to go a little bit deeper and more holistic with the work. And so KBD stands for Know Better, Be Better, Do Better. And so we start with the idea that we're all doing the best we can. We draw from Dr. Maya Angelou that you do the best you can until you know better, and then when you know better, you do better. We also draw from Dr. Sean Ginwright for the be better, that often we think about what do we need to do, and Dr. Sean Ginwright says that's the wrong first question. We really need to think about who do we need to become in order to really be in true service of him. And then last, with the millions of things going on in the world and endless tasks and so much work, we also draw from Adrienne Maree Brown to remind us that also small is good and small is all, that the little shifts, the little changes that we make can actually have really big impact. And so each of us has that opportunity with how we show up, our presence, our roles in whatever work we're doing to have tremendous impact at scale. So that's kind of, those are our sort of grounding philosophies that when I invite you to do some different activities today, we're kind of getting at some of these different ways of being and engaging with the work that you all do and why you're here today. So with that, I'm going to also, I think you all went around and I got to hear everyone's introduction, so that was super helpful. Well, thank you. So anything else in terms of intros that you want to have folks do?
I guess if we want to quickly kind of briefly go over why we decided to do this and why we're kind of deciding to step up, just to start me personally, I went to corporate route for my apprenticeship, decided that it wasn't for me and came back down to serve my community to make sure that I'm doing work that actually fills my soul and will actually help people.
Yeah.
Sorry to jump spot.
Well, I just
We
want
can also popcorn,
I
like.
want to honor the moment. Now, Mickey, what am I doing? I'm saying, why am I doing this?
Just essentially where you.
Man, I'm still trying to ask ethics. No, I was invited to, certain leadership is our profession as the senior pastor and educator, and I was invited to help and serve a Tukwila School District at a critical time. Was in a bad spot, and so several leaders that I respected asked me if I could help in some form of capacity, and after vetting, I said I'll be willing to do whatever I can. That's how I got it.
Okay.
I hope that answers the question.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there is no right answer.
Yeah.
For the-
No, I just want to address the question. I still don't think it was the right answer. I just want to address. it.
Yeah.
And honor the
But,
moment.
yeah.
Yes.
We can hear from Ron, yeah. But-
I'm here as, so oversee being on the academic side of the house. I'm just here to be more, stay aware of what our board leaders and our superintendent are looking on so that I can make sure that I do my part to make policies and expectations happen and come to life with our kids.
Pretty much the same as Mr. Whitman here. I'm in charge of the budget development, and so it's making sure that I'm aware of any board priorities, superintendent priorities, as we're moving forward, making sure that we're fiscally system.
So I've been on the board for about 18 years now. If I go back to when I started, the reason that I started was, so I have a background in software engineering and I was interested in technology in the district. And 18 years ago, I was involved in some of the committees about technology, and it always came back to, well, we don't have any money, we don't have any money, we don't have any money. So I figured out at that point that the only way school districts in the state can get money for technology is run technology local levies. Which we did, a couple of years after I got on the board, and it was passed. And so now we have, some good technology in the district. So that was kind of what hooked me and got me in. And then once I got in, the whole set of other issues started coming up, and it took me several years to understand, how the state, misallocates money for education in the sense of not putting money where the needs are. And we have obviously a high poverty, high MLL district, and the state underfunds those districts horribly. And so, and then now I've been involved in all this, a lot of stuff going on at the state level to try and reform the funding system. So, and then, you know, when I started understanding about the needs of our NLL students and, you know, got involved in giving credits for languages they already know and how to support them. And so, anyway, there's kind of this constantly, the farther you get into it, the more interesting things there are to work on. And so I've been here for 18 years.
I'm here to advocate for student South Foster.
That's a high school, in case you don't know.
Yeah.
And my name is Greg Sherlock, and I joined the board because I come from a long family of school teachers. And so at home and around, we do a lot of talking about education. And I spent many years at a company being one of the instructors that taught adults, taught thousands of adults. And for the last 6 years, I worked in sales and marketing for China. So all my coworkers, most of my coworkers were from China. I also worked as the sales and marketing for Africa. So a good portion of the people I work with are from that continent. And I started to become concerned about the competitiveness of our students because we're on a world stage now. Computers enable us to have work done all over the world. And so that's what my interest is to see the students here grow so they can become competitive on a world stage.
Thank you.
I grew up here in Tooele, so who also went to school district. So I think part of me was taking on this role was making sure that I'm a board member who cares about the school district, who has attended and wants to maintain that relationship, as well as having, you know, family who attend the school district. You want to support the schools that are here. And also in my professional career, I've always worked in the higher education side. So again, non-academic side, which is just supporting and always assisting, you know, teachers, faculty. And so I think that experience really is helpful for me when it comes to making decisions. And yeah, I think that's part of the reason.
Thank you.
That's funny, so I'm looking at the, your symbol up there. Which I got from. Cool. Yeah, no, it's really great because actually yesterday I was at the International Day Assembly. And they do this every year where they sing wave the flag.
Okay.
And the students are dressed in their home countries and all the flags of that school are represented. So it was just a nice, like, oh, this is so sweet. It was such a nice connection. And that's one of the reasons why I'm here, right? Is because some people know, some people don't know, but I interned here in 2014. And I always wanted to come back because I just feel like Tooele, all my education and background actually all align to the values and the mission of the district. And I'm here to support the board and making sure that we have a strong collaborative working relationship. This is our third board transition with a majority board changeover. So I just want to continue to grow with the board.
Thank you. Well, thank you all so much I think it really helps get everyone's voices in the space and connect to our purpose. We're gonna, as we move, start to also think about like our collective purpose and vision, and think about too the ways that your expertise and experience and individual roles contribute to that collective work as well. But before we dive into that, I'm gonna turn it over to Mitch. You are letting it open.
Thank you. We in the Tooele School District acknowledge that the land where we teach, collaborate, learn, and play is a traditional land, or is the traditional land of the first people of Seattle, the Duwamish and Muckleshoot people, past and present, and honor with gratitude the land itself and the Duwamish and Muckleshoot tribes. As a public school district, we have a responsibility for the stewardship of this land, and we strive to work alongside the Duwamish and Muckleshoot people who have been living and working here since time immemorial. And for the labor acknowledgement, we further acknowledge that the burden of environmental exploitation and systemic injustice falls upon the labor of Black and brown bodies in the building of this country and its institutions. We remember that Black and brown people were born and died working this land against their will for generations. We also acknowledge the continued contribution of the labor of survivors over the centuries to today. of all immigrant labor, including voluntary, involuntary, trafficked, forced, and undocumented peoples in the building of what we refer to as the United States. As a school district leadership, we pledge to recognize and work against systems that have historically and currently enforced and create inequities among the people we serve.
Okay, so with that, we're gonna continue in this vein of sort of what we're envisioning for the future. So we just honored sort of how and came to be here and the people and the land that help us be here to do the work that we want to do. And we want to take some time to think about what are we working towards? What do we envision for the future? So you all shared sort of why you chose to join, sort of what kind of brought you to the work, and we're going to take some time to think about imagining 2 years from now, so a short window first, but you could also think further in advance too. But imagine that there's a headline that Tupelo School District is being recognized for something, and to think about what is it that you want that headline to say. And so we're going to do this. I have some additional prompts and materials for you all to engage with, and then we're going to put together our like actual big newspaper with articles that have multiple headlines. And actually, can I get maybe some passing of that? Things there. Yeah, I can get that way. Okay, this one's. Let's just go with the one. So again, this is meant to get all sides of our brain working. So if you're more analytical, this might push your creative side. If your creative side is like, I'm so tired of spreadsheets and numbers, this is an activity for you. Oh, we can get it. You can just grab.
Okay.
Yeah, you can grab out some different colors today, and then you got one that.
Yes, ma'am.
And Dave get
Yeah,
one?
you got it.
Dave, did you get one?
No.
No.
What?
Oh, then we did. Oh.
Is this, could this be color pen?
Marker, so we're gonna grab some color here, we'll just stuff some out. Yeah, it's not a single color thing, and clear colors. There's a fine tip and a big tip if you want to do some stuff. Pass around to other colors. I'm gonna put a little bit of, is it distracting to put it, or is it in the recording? Can I put a little bit of background music on? Or is it?
I can just pause it.
I can go with you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So,
I don't have any music.
yeah, there's other colors too. Oh, kind of music.
If you
You know that. There's more here, and then there's other fancy ones, so feel free to like, find it on. We're gonna take like 10 minutes of this, so. There's prompts there. If you don't like that structure, I also have like paper, if I just make it own style. But we're gonna take some time. Here's other markers, colors. Can you focus? Oh, you got it. I have, okay, I was gonna do some lo-fi.
No, I've got it, okay, I just gotta find the sound.
So yeah, talking about what does the headline say? What are students, family, and community members saying? And then the piece that I definitely want you to be getting to are what did you as a board have to become, or how did you have to work together to help make that headline possible?
That's chill.
Maybe too short.
Too chill, how about focus? I'm actually a Latina Afro pop girl, so it's just me, but I'm just saying, that's what I used to do in my car, working butt my head.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like a little beat, okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Urbano Latina. Do it, okay. Yeah, I'll do worldwide and see what that does, since we're talking about worldwide.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm okay. You can show me that. I'm gonna make her dry. You remember that, right? Let's see.
Big ones matter.
And then use the two colors, colors, seven colors. I did that automatically, so now I have to add blue. Yeah, I did that. It's been great. Yeah, it's been great.
Oh, good, I'm glad.
Yeah, I'm gonna cover it over there. There's space. Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and grab a bunch for people. Oh, you did great. That's not what we have.
Okay, so take maybe one more minute. And any final thoughts? Right. So what I'm gonna invite us to do is whoever wants to start to share their big headline, and then you don't have to share every single sort of response or thing you put on there, but share some highlights of what you're thinking as your role as a board, or what community or families, students are saying. One or two highlights, but share the big headline. And then I put some little pieces of tape on the other side of these tables, and then I invite you to, after you share, to come and hang your headline or tape it sort of like this to the tables, so we have them, around the room, just kind of off the edge. So we'll have some on this side, some on this side. Everyone should be able to see at least a few of the headlines, so we keep those centered as we go through the rest of our time together. So who'd like to kick us off?
I'll start off. So for my headline, I said, Board of TSD has come together to overcome their differences to create a template for surrounding school districts. Some of the big stories that I had was TSD, Tuckahoe Pool, City Council, and all other government entities unite to save their city from bad legislative actions, more money for education than ever. And then some of the things that I had for, I know, right? It's big, but you know, hypotheticals. Basically, what would they do next? My picture was having this room all united, having a teacher rep, having a parent rep, having the student reps, and having all the board of directors coming together with an actual public comment saying that everyone is helping kids and centering that. All perspectives, or my board contribution was all perspectives were heard, but the students, all students were seen and centered. And that's where I will.
Nice. Okay, can you model and take yours?
Absolutely.
And if we need other tape, if it got stuck again. And we can swap around. I just put the tape near each other. Right around there.
I'll put yours up there.
How about that read? What can we have like a Tukwila School District of the Year?
All right.
Yeah.
I was like, here.
That's right.
Big story, fiscal balance, academic. I can't read my writing. Let me see. Whatever it was, it's all good. Our academic enrichment, per ratio students, model of excellence, including test scores, civic contributions, and graduation, outstanding award for excellence, snapshot of the future. And I need you to see this. You can't see it. That's Dr. Concy Pedrosa as superintendent, Washington State Superintendent of the Year. That's you. Your hair is red though.
Okay, not about 4 months ago.
Yeah.
Now it's gone.
And so, and there's other stuff on it, but I just, thank you, bro.
And you can spread it down so they're out.
I'm gonna just follow him because it matches that, not the red hair, superintendent part, but.
I got purpose for your hair.
Yeah, but I had that in 1994 purple hair, but okay. So I wrote Tukwila School District of Distinction. Scott and I've talked about this before. The tagline is Tukwila School District of Distinction, where everyone belongs, where every scholar thrives, where every person thrives. That person is like staff, family, community member. And then my taglines were the top graduation rates, FAFSA completion, academic growth, so high CS and biliteracy. But for me, what's most important is that belonging part, where every student says that they, feel a sense of belonging, all those pieces. The other stuff, like the physical stuff, like that's already like part of the past news, which is great. But for me, like Scott and I talk about it, our boulder is our academic growth. Right, high growth, high language growth, high growth for everybody. So when I say thriving, it doesn't mean we're hitting this, it means we're taking the kids where they are and accelerating them. So to what they want to be at. I can do that.
Mine was something I think you would want to be clickbait, so it's spelling best school be fake. And for my opinion, some of the testimonies which I wrote, community voices would have been like parents saying my kids feel represented, a staff member saying I love working here, voters saying there's fiscal accountability, and then students saying my experience is full of growth. These are some stuff I would love to hear. And the snapshot that I had was also like a pick of graduation. I put like stick figures. I've got so many folks, so just I envision it's all of our graduating class. Yeah, and then board's contribution, as Brooke said, same, which is proactive meetings, discussion of future strategic planning, and then visits to schools. So these really help with building what I would think any news agency would come and say best schools. And we hope to see school on there. So,
I love that.
I have something kind of similar. What does the headline say? I said academic excellence. Just those two bold words. The big story, Tukwila Schools leading the state in achievement tests and all testing areas. Community voices. My student is enthusiastic about learning. My student that just graduated was accepted by multiple colleges. And in my snapshot for the future, and I also failed art and stuff like that. I have a picture of two people walking up a hill to the sunshine.
Okay.
So going up to the broad Summit Hill. And the board's contribution is wise use of funding resources well placed. High academic standards, starting with key educational basics. And what the board had to become, I think financial accountability is crucial, and focus on those resources with those high standards.
Thank you. All right, you want to come around and show us that would be great.
So I have a fair amount of overlap, but a little bit more specific. The headline, Tukwila has the best schools for MLL students in the state. Big story, celebrating student successes, celebrating diversity of students and families, community voices. And I feel like I belong here. Families, the district takes great care of my children. Students, I'm able to pursue my dreams. I can relate to my teachers. I took nobody's kind of mentioned the bottom one, what the board had to become. Actually, we have, that's our values, mindsets. As a board, we actually have our values, which are transparency, courage, righteousness, curiosity, and respect. So it's a pretty good group for that. So.
My headline says Foster Drama Club's newest production sells out. My big story is the drama club at Foster High School puts on their best performance yet with all new lighting and sound equipment. These new things opened up tons of creative opportunities for the students to shine. And the community is saying beautiful set and lighting signs. They're such hard workers, and I'm coming back for the next one. And I drew a picture of the theater.
I love it. Thank you so much. You're still thinking. With those posted up. So we have some big headlines, big visions. Academic excellence to sold out drama shows, to thriving students, families, saying their kids, got accepted to all the schools. As we think about these headlines, right, it's to be said, like, we can hope, right? And we can be intentional and think about how we work together and what we prioritize to help make these headlines reality, right? It's not just up to chance or hope, that there is actually opportunity to live into these headlines, to see them come to fruition. And so we're going to talk a little bit, start to dive into how do we get here truly. And so these are meant to be both aspirational, but also like everything I heard here doesn't seem out of the realm of possibility, right? If we're focused, we figure out how to collectively work together, we're centering students, student interests, families, and really prioritizing what we're doing and how we use the fiscal resources that we have, how we leverage getting more resources to make these headlines actual reality, including the big ones, right? That lead to substance, not just forever ads. So let's get into what we do. Actually, I was gonna invite you all first. I just recapped a little bit, but anything else that you noticed as you listened to each other's headlines or things that you shared, that you heard your colleagues share out that either resonated with you or themes? I mean, I heard definitely a lot of like students excelling, thriving, but what else did you notice?
For me, I can't see mine, but the part of it that I didn't share is the, what's the little section on the bottom right with the little air bubbles on it?
Oh, those voices.
Voices.
Yeah.
A little similar. And I didn't share that part, but mine said, I love my Tukwila community. I appreciate my school. And then one of those bubbles that I thought was relevant is that the work we do in here is actually received, understood, and appreciated out there as by the feedback.
Yeah.
It's one thing to do great work in here, but if that's not received, understood, or respected out there, I think it feels empty. It's still necessary, but I did hear that people felt welcome, my students this, my students, et cetera, but the feedback. And so I didn't really share that part of mine, but I think that's important. I'd love to for boards. The other thing that you said 2 years, I don't plan on being on the board next, but I would love for that next board to be able to experience that the community respects and appreciate the work that was done for community to be built or academic excellence to be the norm, not just a headline. So.
Just to double off of that, yeah, community engagement is something that is obviously been on all of our minds. And beyond that, we all want to center students, and how we do that is obviously very different. But at the end of the day, we all want what's best for the students. And it's about how we get there together rather than separately.
I think academic excellence was another theme. Part of it is also, I think the common theme was a feeling of belonging. And I think that also ties to like, courses for like NLL students, for instance, who are taking classes and they know that they're going to be growing in that area, and that there's resources for them. So with that action, it feels like, yeah, there's a support system in place for them. Yeah, so I think that was one key takeaway.
Yeah, the other, I mean, everybody was talking about kind of all students, and the reason I kind of focused on MLO students is it's this concept of targeted universalism. So, you figure out who's maybe the farthest away from educational attainment, and you focus on them, which then raises the whole boat, essentially. So,
Yeah. Okay. Did you want to share it? You don't have to. Okay.
I'm just gonna quickly say that I think there was a real consensus on the student. We've already spoken about these things, but really that's why we're here. It's the student. And I worked for the Highland School District, and we had a saying there, it was for the kids.
Yeah.
And so everything that we did always ended up for the benefit of the student.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying the Highland School District does everything right. I'm just saying that was my experience.
All right. Thank you. Well, yeah, so we know that, so we have common themes around, student excellence, really centering young people. How we get there together is what we're gonna dive into. And David, you mentioned already, like, we have values, we have operating principles. We're gonna spend some time, this is in the handbook. These were developed, but it's always helpful to revisit or to think about what do these look like or mean for us today, or for this collective in this moment now. So we're gonna spend some time diving into these. What I'm gonna invite us to do, so the pieces that were a couple of language things. So in the handbook, do we have your values and group agreements? And then there's also reference to operating protocols or operating principles. They were kind of used interchangeably. I sort of moved towards just using principles, but know that sometimes referred to as operating protocols or principles. We, and this is like the shorthand summary of them. We're gonna pass out a handout here in a moment, but I'm gonna invite us to start with just kind of revisiting those values, group agreements, and principles. And there's some reflection prompts for you. There's questions 1 through 4, and there's handouts here. Appreciate it. So you have the, full description of the principles and values, but you don't wanna keep switching back and forth. I can go back.
I'll keep it up.
Here's an extra copy, so you don't have to go back and forth through pages. So we're gonna take a few minutes, reflect on those.
Yeah, I think we should- For the first one,
Uh-oh. That I counted.
Oh.
Okay, that one.
or you'll seal that one.
Did we? I thought I kind of fixed there, if you want to just divide.
So the page that you handed out is the cover of the one that,
Just so you don't have to like flip back and forth, because the questions are on the back side of the values agreement. Oh, sorry, okay, sorry. I was like, I thought I kind of fixed it. No, it's okay. So yeah, the extra values copy is just so you're not flipping back and forth as you reflect on those first 4 questions. You got a copy?
I'm sweet.
Oh, there we go, okay. Those are just extras, you don't have to, and then the questions are on the back side or page 2. Right. Practice. Something.
Maybe it's one. Next.
Yeah, I've got the two, you got one, please?
That's, kitchen.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
All right, got it.
I have.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe about 2 more minutes to. Get through those.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so, and then my children, they come on the
You're a thick version. I'm not gonna.
I got the construction version, so I'm not gonna say it right now, but I'll tell you.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I fell for it. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I like that. When my kids say I'm not full out, I just love it. I don't know, I just love that. I'm not full. They got that from me.
Yeah.
All right, I will invite us back together, and we'll have, you can keep adding thoughts as we go through. We're gonna keep, engaging with these values and operating principles a little bit more. Part of why we're doing this is, it's very easy to like read the list of like, oh yeah, these are, these are our values, these are group agreements, these are principles. And then move on to other things, right, that we're constantly moving, there's lots of different stuff we have to look through and review and prepare for. And so taking time to like slow down, so, that's the other strategy that isn't in our intro to KBD is we talk a lot about, the times are urgent, let us slow down. So drawing from that, African proverb, but this idea that, to really think about what does this look like in our actual practice with each other. And so we're gonna keep, so you started this individual reflection, kind of looking through anything before we move into the next part where we continue to play with this, anything stand out to you or are you noticing as those reflection questions that were there? We want to share out with the whole group. You don't have to not share everything, but if there's something you wanna raise forward to that like a highlight or an insight for you, or something you want everyone to be thinking about?
I'll just kind of start us off here. So I started off with number one with the values that I align with most is transparency, because how can community or how can us as board members as a whole strengthen trust when communication isn't happening? And beyond that, I said the operating principles that feel most alive right now are courage and righteousness. While the flip side of that is the transparency and curiosity. Where we're at right now is we're getting to know each other. And at this point, we need to use this day as a way of grounding ourselves in our current principles. And if we want to move forward together, we have to submit these to be changed. Otherwise, we have to operate as any other job. When these things are in place, violating them while we aren't terminated right away, we still have to uphold accountability starting at the top before the rest of everything else that we're a part of will not fall in line, but will actually be able to guide them in the right direction.
Yeah, so I hear you saying like, we need to really like understand these, feel like if they're not like fully like how this board wants to like hold these, then we need to like make some movement to which we can in the future, we're thinking about that for the August session to add to this list, but as they stand, these are the ones that we are beholden to, like they're adding values to help principles, yeah.
So for me, the one that I was kind of focused on is curiosity, which asks questions for understanding. And we seem to be, in terms of operationalizing, we seem to be doing a lot of squashing questions, that is discouraging questions, which I think is not good for transparency, it's not good for curiosity, it's not good for accountability, it's not good for advocacy. So I think we need to examine why we would reduce questions. It's being done in the interest of, less time in the board meeting, but I don't think that's a great reason to do it.
Okay. So thinking about, when and how, like, are we raising questions, and there's always gonna be those tensions, right, of like schedules and agendas and time, and also making space for that curiosity to happen. Yeah.
Again, with curiosity, I said I align the most with curiosity because not asking questions is what causes mistakes and miscommunication.
Yeah. Farhan, did you wanna?
Yeah, I mean, my top one, for alignment was also transparency. I thought if you have no trust in each other, then you can't work. In other words, there's like no hidden agendas from each of us, so, we communicate what we want to say and we're trustworthy amongst each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me, the alignment was the transparency, and I think that is a big deal. And I had much respect for our board for transparency. I think the challenge that I have with the aligning was courage, but from a different angle. I mean, the courage and curiosity component, not the value of curiosity is to ask questions, to explore wisdom of other ways of thinking or seeing. I think there's an underlining cloud or overhanging cloud of questions that already have answers as opposed to pursuing other options. And that can lead to distrust and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
And so I think we should align more toward.
Questions for curiosity, or, so there's different types of questions.
Yeah.
Meaning questions, there's, in youth development space, we talk a lot about open-ended questions where you don't know the answer to, and closed questions where you already know the answer.
Or it's just a question mark on hanging on a statement that you're
Yeah,
trying to make or
Yeah.
And that I think that kind of like Larson said, also chokes. It just trust, because it leads to underlining motive of what you're trying to really get at. Are there options? And I think we struggle getting to wisdom and right. So.
I was just gonna quickly say, it was difficult to pick out one, because they all have excellent points to them. So I just kind of picked a little bit from, I picked really all of them. I think they're crucial, and I really support these values. I think, as a board, I think our challenge is courage and curiosity. It's important to remember that, people are not gonna always come to an agreement. That, your backgrounds, your education, your experiences can lead you to see things a different way. And so I'm never afraid of disagreements. And as I said, I think it's important to remain respectful during disagreements, but we're not going to always come to an agreement on things. And I think most community members probably recognize that no one is going to always agree with another person 100% of the time. It's not going to happen. But we always are, like I said, I think it's crucial to remember the end goal, and that is, of course, our students.
We're gonna,
I was gonna say, I think courage, in terms of number two, the most challenging one, courage is always kind of the most challenging one, just because it requires a lot of work. For me, I'm always kind of trying to look for the win-win, situation, and sometimes, hopefully, you can find it, but sometimes it takes a lot of work to get there. And so courage is work,
Yeah.
which we're all kind of trying to get by as easy as possible, but life doesn't treat us that way usually.
Thank you all for starting with that sort of initial individual reflection, and we're gonna keep playing with these, Greg, what you mentioned too around like how we, you're not always gonna agree, like that, it's a group of like lots of big words I can use with people. We'll start to get into then like how do we lean into what these values look like in action so that we lean into those particularly in times of disagreement or conflict, like how do we recenter back to our purpose, so thinking about our like headlines for the future, centering what really is best for students, what our roles are in supporting that. But we're gonna keep playing with this because the values, the group agreements, again, they're really what you all as a board are holding in terms of how you show up with each other and govern collectively together, right? Those are your values. And those operating principles, the purple on the right, have those additional protocols or principles of how you show up as individual board members, as a collective board, your relationship with the superintendent. And there's a lot of intersections there of the principles that you're supposed to uphold and the values. So we're gonna do a little bit of a mix match activity where we're pairing now a value with one of the principles. And so while you were working on that little worksheet, I handed you 2 note cards. And so you have one of the values and one of the principles. If you can't read my writing, you have the printed version there. I was very self-conscious when I was writing those out. I'm like, writing carefully, and I went through a few extra index cards, was like, nope, can't use that one. It's been a minute, we've done some handwriting, so.
Way better than mine.
You do have the printed versions if you need to refer to that, but those are the 2 that you're gonna sort of think about. I'm gonna give you an example of what I mean by connecting from the direction, the values and principles. So let's say you have value courage, which some of you talked about, and you also have the principle we agree to avoid words and actions that create or perpetuate a negative impression on an individual, the board, or the district. And so I want you to think about what connections do you see between the value that you have and the principle, or what questions might you want to pose as you're connecting these. So this is a little bit more abstract connection making. There are no right, perfect connections or matches. That's why they're just all mixed up. This is really about helping you kind of dive deeper into what does this value really look like? What are the things that I like, principles that I need to hold as a board member and as a collective board? And so just some example of like, potential connections. Courage might mean sharing an unpopular or a different, an opposite opinion or perspective. But then we're gonna think about, if we agree to avoid words or things that could be harmful, we're gonna think about how to be courageous in constructive ways, right? Or how to, what does that actually look like to have dissenting views, but do that in ways that are gonna be respectful. Or again, sort of what does maybe dealing more on the courageousness and like what is courageous governance like for you all? Like you all mentioned like what was it, like a district of the year, or superintendent recognized like Washington State superintendent of the year. Like what is that's gonna take courage, right? To get there. Where that like your operating principles might you lean on that to get to that. Does that make sense? So there's no right answer. It's meant to be a little bit ambiguous, pushing you to kind of think more critically about these values and these operating principles. So what we're gonna start with is you have some reflection prompts, because if you're like, I have no idea where to start, I have some guiding questions for you on either that same page or on the, it's page 2, questions 5 through 8. Yep, so further down. To just kind of help you dive in, and again, if you're like, I'm really stuck, you're all sitting next to someone, swap principles or swap values. If you're like, I'm really struggling to like connect these 2 things. But you're just starting with like, what connections do you see? What relationships between that value and principle? how might the principal help operationalize or put into practice that value? What behaviors or actions would demonstrate this connection during board meetings or during your governance work, so you also have work sessions? And then thinking back to like the broader collective, how might living into these or putting these into action really, how will students, families, or community members experience the impact when you're really living into this value or into those principles? Okay. So we're gonna put the music on for this one. And this is one where start individually, and then I'm gonna ask you to start having conversations, because this can be one where it's like, I need another brain or some other thoughts. So we're gonna take about 5 minutes on your own, and then we're gonna have you, your partner up and have a conversation with each other, and you can swap cards too, if it's like, oh, actually, yours feels like I see a connection right away to mine. Yeah.
Sorry, the values regarding these two, right?
Yeah, so the value, it should be, I did try and color code, so, the value will be on the blue cards, and the purple are the principles.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then you're finding connections, relationships between them. And like I said, there's not gonna be a perfect one answer or one way to think about these.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And you have questions 5 through 8, if you're more like, I need some guidance on what to think about. Yeah.
That's, okay, 5 to 8, John.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
No one knows.
Oh, did I not remember those?
No, you did.
Okay.
I was looking at.
Oh, on that side, okay, yeah, that's the next time. Don't forget.
It makes you feel better everything. It's both for everything.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm watching the word.
Is that another one? Yeah.
Did we put the block in there? Just think of this.
I'll hear.
The beat reminded me of Ethiopian, but I don't know, what. I went to Ethiopian dance. Once and I'm just, the shoulders moving, right, like.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think. It says, his name is Tim. It's a global channel, so. No, this one I believe is, he says, adhesion and a hunter when walking, that's the title. His name is Nenda Solo and Benego Diakiti. It's always my go-to pronounce names when I was a teacher. As a newcomer teacher, oh my gosh.
You don't want to end up like the key and peele skill.
Yeah.
The what they do wrong.
Well, and think I went to school in Mexico, and if you could master, so I went to the University of Guadalajara for a year, if you could master this one town's name, you were in. It was Paraguay.
That's a lot.
And then I had a student in China named Michelle. I love him, so just that. I'm trying to.
Okay, so it's like, if you have been sort of reflecting on your prompts, and then invite you to partner up, and sort of start with sharing out the connections or the values and the principle that you had and what connections you saw with each other. Share any other highlights from your reflections on those, and then we'll do a large group. So we would point out. And then as we, our last piece of this, of diving into these values, is gonna then move a little bit deeper into the operationalizing these into what does it look like in action. So an example, maybe we have like curiosity, right, and asking questions, but then you've all actually already named some things of like the types of questions we're asking and what's the intent. So we might want to get some clarity of like what this looks like in practice more explicitly for this group of together. So that's what we're gonna go to next. But first, start with making these connections, sharing with each other a little bit.
All right, mention each other, what you got?
I gotta, individual board members do not have authority, only the board members have.
The vision of great
Support
schools,
superintendent
accountability.
Vision, grace, policies. And superintendent, schools, together before.
I know, right? With those two. Yeah, with those two, I basically said the connection there is taking time for colleges around, taking those values clauses for number 7.
And then the, talks about
Things out, but still following agenda items as they're currently laid out, and then.
not misusing
current agreements and we
positions,
to expand
gain of
board percent with the current.
Yeah,
And then the last section is, it'll, students.
Right, just discouraging better number 2, that emotional talent to practice. I think that was most
I think, I've been on board.
exploring the right thing to do. It's kind of
That is subverting a
a lot
lot
of
of
we
people.
have, what we think is the right thing to do.
Sure.
There's really they become exposed to.
You focus on that.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
And then
Everybody.
But yeah,
So we
I would
have
say
a-
for number 5 or
Only,
So like,
because mine had one.
Typically do some
Policies.
immediate.
A collective
And
conscience.
there's
also
sometimes-
We vetted it out. I think we had to push that, she puts that, and so out of that, we came. Well, I could walk away with people.
Accountability.
No, all that.
Let's say,
Working together.
Anyway, yeah, just like have to do it.
Let's say-
Have to. And so, you know, it's kind of, we just had an interesting go through.
This was-
We have to be sure to each other's time.
You have to,
as a board,
in order to get to
Present ourselves.
Yeah.
emphasizing whatever his opinion is, especially that may not be familiar with each other.
Oh, no.
That one is all.
So, yeah, I mean,
I'm trying to put it in there.
no, you're
But I bet you- Then we'll come back together. That's good.
yeah.
And then you know, conversation.
Reflection of the last week.
You see the back between.
all these, everyone's explained to.
Leverage to be.
Oh, my God, wait, you just had it or?
Yeah. To righteousness, I mean, obviously, certain, obviously, we're not gonna try to, put money aside as part of the administration.
Okay.
I mean, that, no, I mean, I never did that.
But I agree
Yeah.
that statute take it as opposed to.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, you see, yeah, so you just want to stop this. Decision for all.
And that would be a violation of federal law.
Yeah.
So.
We address that.
Yeah, I'm not having. My brother. Everything I wrote.
But they say it was back
Eventually, and he made sure the house and everything, so it's easier.
Yeah, you know, just.
Oh.
Yeah. But
So my-
you know, what is?
Yeah, it's I learned from the teachers to say that, they'd like to.
And I think we do that, figure out.
But they have to do terrible.
Cause some.
It was just super fascinating.
Open up, this should be something. For us. So we can open set a calendar. Because we're all.
Something like the, some of it. Yeah. And feel like that's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then obviously, you know.
He's got a whole slide.
So, you know, what should be underground?
And I help with
Police station.
because they can.
So to me, that's like the first you found.
Yeah.
He's saying like.
Operational.
Yeah.
Well, there's clarity. But you just need to lose it. Refrigerator, the ice cream melt.
Does the
Yeah.
even if. There is no, an asset to getting us to like. The right.
There's no words on it.
I mean, they do better. Something else. And we have to be careful with assuming. We are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I think. That's.
Yeah.
Well,
I think.
what do you want?
The Hawaiian.
Actually, well, it's case specific.
Actually say.
We're treating them better. Live.
Yeah.
Yeah, but overall.
Okay, we were talking about.
That represents.
Yeah, that's the
Jesus specific.
Kids get to like go. Yeah. If I
And we get our setting as
Like,
opposed to. No, okay. Tell me how that makes sense. Where are the people?
Kids think that they can.
How do you do? What are the questions?
Yeah.
Sure.
Cause I'm first.
That's.
Family.
Oh, testimony. What was really trying to tell you?
I have like one.
What is? Sometimes last
Staff
too.
because.
Yeah.
Really good
It's
gender.
a very.
Say, I'm. We'll never get to.
Yeah, and it's a.
Ways of terribly as he do it. What we trying to get to this? Or.
Yeah.
You got a path.
Like.
All right, friends.
Very peaceful question.
Like.
I'm gonna bring us back together
So.
to move into our last piece. But first, I'm serious, how was that process? Sorry. Oh, no, it's okay. How was that? We're gonna move to the last piece of this, but how was this process with making these connections between?
It's good. It's a good opener for conversation in terms of where we are heading.
Challenges, ways that where you got stuck, where you were certain, anything come up for you all?
I think it's good because it helps kind of think about operationalizing them, which is important. And it's one thing to state the values and that if they don't happen, then.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay. Well, let's move more into that operationalizing, to continue that thought, hopefully this is kind of priming you to dive deeper. Looking behind me. So some of the things we're going to look at, it's just, again, get more specific, and the values do have a little bit of operationalization in it if you read them. And yet there's room for a deeper, sort of, what does this really look like and sound like in board meetings, in work sessions. For example, if we have our value or operating principle, we're gonna practice this together. So let's say we have curiosity. In the middle, I have looks like, sounds like. And so this kind of gets to the thing, it's like, it's not just asking questions. I put an example here, it's asking questions to understand. Or we might say asking questions to ensure we're including multiple perspectives or something, right? So we're going deeper than saying curiosity is more than that, ask questions. And that value of curiosity could be undermined if we're making assumptions like maybe I assume that everyone actually knows the thing that we're talking about, right? And so I'm gonna move on, right? So curiosity can get undermined because I move through a thing without creating that space to make sure we're actually building that curiosity. So this is just an example. You're gonna put in your own sort of ideas of what this looks like or sounds like. This is one of the operating principles. So represent the needs of all children. So I just pulled out a little excerpt because some of those operating principles are long, right? It's multiple sentences, things, one piece of it. So what that might look like in action or in practice, again, hypothetical here, you get to decide this, is asking what perspectives or group of students may be missing from when you're looking at aggregated data. So I make the assumption that you all get data at different times to live into making sure you're representing the needs of all the students. You as board members or as a collective might want to just take a note, like, is there anyone missing? Who might be missing from whatever data we're looking at? Okay. It can be undermined by, our sense of urgency we talked about, which can be real time as a very real constraint, right? So some of these will run into natural tensions, or maybe we're like, we've got an onslaught of stuff on the agenda, we're skimming through reports, or we're skimming through, the pre-reads or pre-information that you need to look through, right? So we might miss representing all students if we do some of these other actions, right? Again, I just made these up as examples, not saying you'll do this or are going to do this. But want you to think about what would get in the way. So undermining, like what would get in the way or prevent living into this value. There's the last one, just courage. We talked already about courage, so naming things openly, naming concerns directly, being upfront right away, not letting things simmer and stew, can be undermined broadly, like by passive aggression or by avoidance. Sometimes passive aggression shows up as like avoidance. Again, just as examples, right? As a introvert and a like true Northwestern person, I know the passive. I use passive aggression because sometimes it's the Northwest weather here, right? So it happens sometimes, and we have to lean in then to being direct, being open, right? We don't have passive aggressiveness in New York City as much, right? Very direct. I have colleagues from New York, and it's very different when we engage with each other. I know exactly what they're thinking and mean all the time, right? And they learn to tend to draw out my thoughts. So again, these are just hypotheticals, but stuff for you all to think about as we really get into what do these things look like and sound like. The thing I will say for this is going to lead to, if you see something missing in how the values and principles are currently written, that's where you want to note these in the looks like, sound like, because those might be the updates or changes that we want to add for you all to make these feel like these are for you as this collective board today. Does that make sense? So we're going to use these looks like, sounds like pieces to check to see if there's things you might want to update in the way that our values and operating principles are listed. They are as they are now, and so we're going to abide by them. And if we see that, we really do need to add something here, or we want to add some clarity, we're going to make note of that during this time of our Does that make sense? And I'm gonna give some post-its for those suggested revisions, but we're gonna use the handout first. So, this one, I'm gonna have you continue to do in your partners to work on this one. So you're gonna identify, you're gonna pick 2 to 3. You're gonna stick with the values, so you can pick amongst your partners, like which values or principles you wanna add. So of the 4 that you have listed, you're gonna pick which one to focus on.
Oh, so don't
Yeah.
stick with that.
You can stick with these 2, so pick one of those to start with, so what you have on your note cards are the same values. So yes, so you're gonna pick one of those that you have on the note cards, yes. To start with. Then if you want to go to one of the others on the list, you can. So you're gonna use page 3 to draft thoughts and ideas on, sort of what it looks like, what it sounds like. So I'm gonna borrow your.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So, so I've got courage here, so I might say let's actually go deeper on the courage one. And you have, this handout, sorry. So you got the examples up here, the ones that I just had on the slide. You're gonna take one of the ones that you have on your note card. You're gonna write it in and start to write for yourself, what you think this looks like, sounds like, what could get in the way, as this group here today. Start with that. Does that make sense? And since you're gonna do it in partners, you can pick any of the 4 cards that you have between the 2 of you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Questions? I can come around and clarify.
Oh, I thought this was the thing.
No, you have different ones. There might be one duplicate.
No, they're just pretty closely aligned.
Yeah. Okay,
Okay,
we're gonna music back on. Dive in, and then I'm gonna come around with some post-its for those like updates or revision ideas you might have. Okay.
Oh,
And one was like one duplicate that values, so. You can the parts that we have to show one.
slash. That's why you put that in. Oh, I see, oh, either salary or. Okay. So, yeah. Yeah. We had this thing about. I agree with you. It's a great knowledge. I would even. For this whole thing that I should manage teachers or the principals coming. You know, so paying attention to things. For me to have a question, kind of related to things that I want to share with them. And so if we can really start to you know, how we didn't see that, if we know if everything is what you want to see there, then it makes the question less, because you don't have less questions about, well, I don't see this. So that's, that's like.
No, they're second. See, mine are the same, so that's why I thought, no.
They're just very short.
There's a
There's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what? Keep quiet. Nah. I done messed it all up. Forget it. Okay. Well, what was it? But I. Okay, like that's good. I'm with you now. Yeah. So that must be a certain process. That's what it looks like. Yeah. It's not just take time. Yeah. On that. Yeah. That's fine. That means it does. Stuff we can figure out people and we have to.
It seems like one more minute. Okay. This is some deeper thinking. I want to give us a quick break here in a minute. What were some of those specific looks like, sounds like ideas you came up with, or either your values or principles that you chose? I'm gonna jot them down.
I can go first. Transparency, as it sounds like, being honest, open to conversations. Another set of respect. Was looks like, and it sounds like is, being cognizant of each other's time. Righteousness, I said, sounds like, taking the right path can be hard to find, so consider a way to unify the pursuit. And another one was courage. So speaking for marginalized groups, admit to mistake, acceptance. Those that's what courage means to me.
Yeah. What others?
I'll pick one here. Respect for sense of humanity. Looks and sounds like, to me, seeking the best outcome for the team, for the whole. And it can be undermined by seeking self or predetermined outcomes.
Yeah, thank you. Others?
Talk a little bit about curiosity. So, whether you had questions to understand, but also I think where we sometimes run into issues, we'll get a presentation and the people giving the presentation don't necessarily understand what is expected out of the presentation. So therefore that can generate a lot of questions, so if one side is expecting something and the other side is not clued into that can generate massive amounts of questions. So getting everybody on the same page in terms of that, I think is important, and then can be undermined, by that, or if there's kind of arbitrarily limiting the number of questions, that can undermine the communication.
So making sure folks who are presenting know what you all need to hear.
Right.
Or what information really needs to be presented, so that then there's spaciousness for the questions to go deeper, to expand, or.
And so then hopefully you don't have so many questions, because the questions will be answered because they know what
Yeah.
expect.
Yeah. Absolutely. Right. Other specifics, looks like, sounds like.
We have to talk about transparencies, and this has been one of my pet peeves for a long time. I mean, explanations are clear, understandable by all parties. I mean, we serve a lot of different groups, in this organization, from staff to students to families, and the developing explanations that are clear and understandable for all those groups is not easy. And so it's typically undermined around here by jargon. there's tons and tons of jargon that gets thrown in things. And people don't define what they mean or what it means.
Yeah.
So then you have, one of those groups is totally left out potentially.
Yeah.
Typically the families and students, because they have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you all for really taking some time to dive into these and be thinking about what these look like in practice. I'm gonna invite you to hold those. We're gonna take a 5-minute brain stretch break, maybe like 4 minutes, based on that clock. To stretch. There's still, I think, some croissants, food. And when we come back, we're gonna dive into our roles and responsibilities. You just mentioned there's lots of different groups, right? There's individual members, there's a collective board. I'm gonna dive into those and then some scenarios to practice as we end the day. My part of the day. Okay. So like 4-minute break. So we spent some, again, our whole intentions for our time there is we're really sort of deep dive into the many different board documents that you all have, particularly the board handbook. So that's kind of what we're going through. Start with the values, group agreements, operating principles. Just gonna go back and sort of clarify and revisit our roles and responsibilities. And so ultimately, you all have already said this, they're just sort of recentering, putting your headlines for the future of why we govern, why we exist as a collective board of school board. It's ultimately for students, families, and then the community trust that they've given us, right, to instruct and support young people in Chipola. So that's our big overarching why, which for all of you actually said that's also why we're here, so that's good. There's alignment, right, in why we're here. And then when we think about what are the different roles that we have in this room and how do we work together, so the superintendent, the professional advisor to the board, and Dr. Pedrosa, you already mentioned, this is part of how you see your role too, is like to advise and support the board, and then really to manage the district and operations in alignment with all federal, state, and board policies, right? So that is the next layer. And then as a board, collectively, you're establishing the vision for headlines, future, right? Where are we going? What are our goals? You're creating and setting policies. You're ensuring accountability. And of course, you're also hiring and evaluating the superintendent as part of that key role, right? All in this idea of centered around in service for young people. So notice I tried to do like sort of nested circles, that there isn't this like hierarchy, right? But these are the roles all in service of students, families, and community trust. And collectively, just as the high level recap, this is written out in all different ways. That's why those principles are very detailed out. But if you had to synthesize, the board governs, the superintendent leads, the district implements, all in service of students, families, and community trust. So again, just kind of clarifying roles, responsibilities, that really to do this effectively, it's really about strong partnership, right? With the board and superintendent to lead effectively. And with that, we sort of recap what I also wanted to launch, that what's really, or I would say not as common as it should be, is that we have student representatives as part of our governing process, right? To support sharing student experience, to elevate student voice and inform board discussions. That is a crucial role, right? So back to that, we're really going to center and think about the needs of all students. There's a lot of students and a lot of voices to be thinking about and hearing. And so bringing student representatives into the board is really crucial to support that. Again, superintendent holding that role of leading the implementation, managing of operations, and advising the board. So again, just sort of a recap, and I'm a visual person, so probably like I just need to take everything that was like written out in narrative and like, okay, what does this like concretely look like in terms of who and what and why? So hopefully this is a helpful visual for you all too, and should sound very familiar or clear. Okay. This is all seems very easy when you look at it like this, And then it starts to get tricky when you get into the nuances and weeds of everyday things that happen when you are a board member or superintendent serving a district with students, families, and supportive community members. So, one final thing, sort of our shared responsibilities, right, across all of our roles. It's a little bit hard to see, but it says student-centered decision-making, public trust, respectful discourse, transparent communication, and constructive partnership. And you all think a lot of these things as we're writing out your values and operationalizing what that looks like. So that transparency, ensuring public trust, but also trust among each other, constructive partnership, how you work together with each other, the superintendent. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about some scenarios. So I'm gonna put up a scenario, we're gonna see how much time we have. You may have an option to throw out a couple scenarios. You might just have to do the two that we have here. This can start to get tricky when you all have board email accounts. You serve as a collective, or there's a collective board inbox too, right?
Yeah, but we can't reply all.
You can't reply all. So you have like rules and policies and approaches, right, to these things that happen. You're also out, you're community members, you live here, you're out in the community, folks know who you are, know you're a board member. People talk, right, and engage you and you have conversations. So we're gonna think about, I'm gonna put up a few different scenarios. And we're just gonna talk out loud about what do you do in this scenario? What comes up for like policy, for how you approach, how you might, like what values might be important. But thinking about what's gonna help maintain trust and effective governance in this situation, what could unintentionally undermine governance or create confusion in terms of the potential responses. And again, thinking about those roles, individual board member, the collective board, the superintendent or district. And this is where I don't know your policies 100%. So the correct answers are gonna need to come from you all on these. So let's start with one. A community member emails one board member directly about a staffing concern and asks them to intervene immediately. So what considerations, what comes up, what immediately pops up in terms of policies, protocols?
Reaching out to the board chair so that way that it can be established as an agenda item. If it's something that is absolutely concerning, that should be brought to the superintendent under our current policy to make sure that the operation procedure is being checked on their level at the same time as the chair's level or the board's level.
Do you want to add that or clarify?
I mean, that was deep. I just don't know. I would have went there.
Okay.
Because I would have thought it's an HR problem. I would just send them to Aaron.
Oh,
What is
yeah,
that?
forward to Aaron, but
Yeah.
also.
Because I don't know that that's something to take to
Who's Aaron?
our
HR.
HR.
Oh, okay.
Like,
Human resources.
for the reason I would,
Not using acronyms.
that's my acronym. So when I saw that, my first initial response to that community member is, that sounds like an HR issue.
Okay.
Here's the person, but I don't know that I would have made that as an agenda item.
Okay, other thoughts?
When people ask me questions, I mean, there's things such as this, I'm not sure. Well, I know according to our regulations, we don't, make comments about the staffing issues, but I see us as a resource for people to know where to go to.
Right.
I think that's been brought up too. So I can't answer that type of question. I can't address that type of question, but I, recommend that you call, so-and-so, and let them know that you're having this issue.
I just want to interject for everyone, going off of the 5270P, which is our procedure, which all of you should be doing your homework for policy. What it specifically outlines is that we need to make sure that it is addressed to the superintendent, and that does include our HR rep for sure. Making sure that we are not promising anything and making sure that we're outlining for them what is the process so that there is no misunderstanding. So when it does get to superintendent, Dr. Pedroza, they aren't going mad, they're going with the understanding that there's steps to this. And this is again, why it's important and why I mentioned in my public comment, you are home.
I'll just add as a superintendent, our philosophy, which is actually outlined in our policy, so just if you can remember that, is problems are solved at the lowest level.
Yes.
So if it's a school problem, the first thing I would say is, have you talked to the principal?
Yeah.
Right? That's our philosophy at the lowest level, right? And with, in order to honor our staff and our actually supervisors and the folks that are supporting and coaching and mentoring, that is our general philosophy. And it's actually that if you'll see the procedures, like in terms of steps, it again reiterates going back to the lowest level of the source of the problem. So that's generally, yeah, but then sending it to me, because the board doesn't do, like, they would send it to me to make sure, if that's my job, is to make sure that again,
Yeah.
it gets down to the lowest level. And most of the time, especially school related, the problems can be solved in the school.
Yeah, and that's, I kind of paused because it doesn't say where the staff was.
Yeah.
It's like-
Yeah, we don't know the full scenario of this,
But
it's staff.
It's about
as an
staffing.
executive leader,
Yeah.
promising that something would come to the board when it might not necessarily need to, might be a violation of that
Yes.
policy. Then you got community ticked off and they feel like you hadn't heard of. In fact, I can hear it in fashion. I get it in Costco and all these other places and people see it. But, those are my first line of inquiry. If it's a school related, have you talked to the principal?
Yeah.
What did he or she say, and how can I help? Because the answer to how I can help isn't always congruent with what they want, like, no, I can't fix it, but I can make sure what you would brought to me goes to the right people, and here's what those are, which is what Doc was saying, but, a lot of times, that's the dilemma, a lot of people think because if they can connect with you, if I can go to the highest level
Yeah.
first, it will get done, when in fact,
It's actually.
that undermines all the support we have for all these wonderful people that are doing the great work, so.
Yeah, for me, it's, this is kind of an educational opportunity for the community about what do school boards do. School boards
Yeah.
don't do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so and a lot of people don't necessarily like to hear that, but that's what it is. And so it just goes to the superintendent, and that's what the superintendent is.
Board member wants district staff to gather additional information before the next meeting and reaches out directly to staff.
Again, I think this is overlapping, like as a board, our only one employee is the superintendent. And that's the only person who we are directly, in contact with when it comes to requesting some type of action. And so that trickles down to the principals, chief, staff, and, even if we wanted anyone to be a part of it, we have the superintendent involved first. So even in our trainings, it clearly states, forward your email to the superintendent.
Yeah.
So let them be aware, and, there could be also things to consider is, what if I don't know, the HR director is on leave, or what if this person is having a family emergency and you want to be responsive, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the other, we, in this district, we have a process of, when, board agendas come up and items are on the board agenda, and there are questions, board members can submit questions, through a form, which the superintendent reviews and, determines where the appropriate place to go is.
Okay. So, that will go clear. We're multi time. I'm gonna move us into our last,
Can I have one? Oh, yeah, just one thing that's been established and just we're trying to be more consistent on is if there is a request for a piece of information. So usually the board's pretty good about going through me, which is great, but then really talking about, that's the piece about the whole board governance, where is there a motion, right, to, like, what's the purpose of, and what's the purpose of the data, they have that discussion, and then they make a motion if there's any additional requests. That's just something that, we've been trying to practice more consistently. I think, mostly we've done a pretty good job in that area. Sometimes there are other requests due to other reasons, like legislative priorities, things like that, that come up, but mostly we're trying to make sure that the whole board agrees that this is something that the board needs.
Yeah. Okay. We're not gonna talk about this, we're gonna come back in August to do some more work. What I would, actually, I put Post-its, near everyone, the green ones, and they're all the same color, so it'll help stay anonymous. But I would love for you to think of a situation that has occurred, could occur, or that you wondered about as a board member, thinking about your responsibilities, these roles. And so it could be something that involves role clarity, public trust, communication, disagreement, requests, or things that constituents have come up and said to you at Costco. Whatever those things.
Like Costco isn't frustrating enough.
Right. Or something else. Just, we're not going to discuss them today, but I want to get those questions or scenarios to be thinking about, because I think this could, like, just in that first narrative brought actually up, like, I think helpful to process, like, how would each of you, how do you address it? We have new board members here, we have some that are going to roll off, like, those of you that have been on for years, like, you probably had all sorts of things happen. And so it may be that maybe you don't have a specific question about what do I do here with responsibility, but for our collective learning as a collective board might be helpful, they could be helpful for us to discuss in terms of how do we navigate this in the future. So take a minute. We're not going to share this out loud, I'm just going to collect them. You can do more than one. Thirty more seconds. For our last part of today, and this is gonna lead into our commitments to that we're gonna make to ourselves as the collective board. So we just spent a lot of time diving into our values, group agreements, operating principles. We want to make some connections to sort of Washington State, so we all have like, some of you your headlines, like, you know, best school, you know, best district, and, you know, Washington, like, best superintendent. There are school district, like, state level standards, for school directors, and in that their handbook, I printed out the, like, do's and don'ts of a school director. You'll see a lot of alignment as you look through them for your, the quick sorting, and this is just a self-reflective activity that we're gonna do. So each of you has, like, the first part of the page that just gives the context of the do's and don'ts. And then the do, as a school director, the things you should do are the blue cards, blue outlines, and the don'ts are the orange. And if you ever forget, it says blue and blue on the bottom and orange, yeah. But we're gonna think not so much of like just like, oh yeah, do all these things and don't do these things. And I want you to like reflect on them and think about sorting them into these 4 piles of like, what's most important, should I say? What's most important of these to really support public trust? What's most important of these to for new board members as you're coming in, those of you that are, yeah, 4 of you or 3 of you. What's most difficult to do under pressure or in awkward to like in Costco? Costco out. And then what's most important for effective governance? Again, this is the way for you to kind of think about these things and not just a way of like, oh, I'm just reading them and, you know, take them, but like really think about them for yourself as a board member. So yeah, this is just for you. We're gonna take about 5 minutes and then I'm gonna close this out with just commitments that you're gonna make, thinking about all these pieces we've talked about, our values, our operating, our group agreements, our principles, and these do's and don'ts. Okay, sorry, I was just a little bit.
No, I wish.
Yes, I know. Yes, we can.
Yeah. And it might be that some of these and don'ts. Oh, okay, yeah. Some of the do's and don'ts might go in the same category, right? Of like, not doing something really supports public trust. Doing the thing all in public trust, right?
So you know it all.
Yeah.
If I actually do. Just kidding.
Then you get a star.
Need my star and smiling face. Yes. That still works for me, man.
With my red pen, with my red pen.
Whoever started that, Miss Baumgartner, kidding me. Listen, I need my professional review.
I would use a purple pen, this one for this, what are the pens, what are the colored pens?
I need
Yeah, star.
basically sticker
And star.
and the free pass to the few out fair.
So it's coming September.
We get
We get to take it to September. Yes.
Shut up. That still works for me today.
But Sally's in charge of the ticket, so it'd be really nice to Sally.
Why do you think I bring banana bread and stuff?
I know. Yeah.
Let me find out she's allergic. You don't.
I'm scared.
Okay, Stewie, so I'm nice.
Okay.
But I don't have those categories.
You don't have to, you're gonna take your own. Stay there. So we have the students get one copy. Yeah.
There's some pretty soft.
And then
I
staff,
made it last time.
we have some for second.
Yeah, it's not like.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't have enough breakfast, I was more out already, but.
It's a big deal around here. Yeah, fair.
Can I ask a clarifying question? I love this one here. Use systems thinking.
Yeah.
What's the thinking behind that? What kind of?
Systems
Like,
thinking.
processes and procedures and.
Yeah, so, there are formal definitions to drop on my scholar friends here. I think of systems thinking of, yeah, it's like it's multiple levels, so it's the policies, the values, you're looking at a collective whole of how things operate. So a lot of times I say like systems are what's left and everyone leaves the room.
Yeah.
So it's what are those policy structures, that stay in place? To really, yeah, but go ahead.
And I would say, so for how I think of systems, when operationally, I think of, so what are the human element systems, like the people, the people, the culture. Then there's the operational managerial pieces. Then there's the political pieces that are also part of the work. And I don't mean just political, like in terms of community politics. I'm talking about like dynamics and on and on. And then the last thing I think are like some of those like ritualistic things that, you know, like we've always done them this way, and all these things are like things that are events and celebrations and all of those pieces. And then I'll add a layer on top of, this is how I think of it, as a top of that is, and then how do we become a continuous improvement system, which is really about the processes and refinement and analysis all the time, making sure that we're making improvements on every area. So when we think of systems level systems, like thinking about all those, that framing, but again, with the goal of being, for me, a continuous improvement system, meaning if a student is not performing, for example, on growth data or something, right? Then our job as a system is to sort of analyze where within those buckets, right? Is it a professional development element? Is it a resource element? Is it a belief, a mindset element? Is it when we talk about culturally responsive teaching, is it a lack of knowledge element? Like all of those pieces, and then where can we improve the system to make sure that we get the outputs that we want? Same with finance, right? Finance, yes, all of those pieces, finance. What are the elements that we need? You know, like one of the biggest pieces of things, and Luke talked about this, and Proctor talked about this, is, you know, the lack of state funding, right? That is something that we have to address, but it's also something that I can't control. So that's the political element, so, you know, that's why Dave and I are working really hard behind the scene to work on those political elements, so that we do get better funding in systems, and so. But it's doing the analysis piece so that we just continually improve all the time to make sure we're improving our system for the outcomes that we've determined are important for the district.
She, can you move that?
That was yeah. A large explanation, but I hope that was clear.
Yeah, it's. I'm like, it's a whole.
It's a whole,
And it's often things that also are hard to see.
Yeah.
It is.
yeah,
I can always have it in context.
Okay, you can go.
yeah. Oh, yes.
Talk about this.
Well, that's how we talk about our anti, if you look at our anti-racist goals, you have the same ones, you have like, we have leadership goals, we have systems goals, we have curriculum goals, we have student, you know, and just like, so we have the same, like, under those frames, the same frames, yeah. And then the process is how do we improve that, right? So complex, as Amy said last Tuesday, everything's complex, it's not that simple, which is true. This is the stuff I love. Right, get all excited.
Love passion.
Yeah, I'm really passionate about improvement and continuous improvement of the
Okay, we're gonna do one more minute. Again, those materials are yours, so like keep thinking about, here's some, be very reflective questions to yourself to be thinking about. So continue sorting with them for, 2 more minutes, and then I never want to be the person to keep you from food. So, yeah. So we're just gonna do one last commitments piece, but I think what we'll do is it okay if we have to get lunch, and then it's just like a commitment card, to do?
I'm sure we can do that,
Just do
yeah.
that first.
Oh, yeah.
Lunch.
Yeah, I don't know how long it'd be, think like 5, 10 minutes. Yeah, we should probably do it first and then we can take a little break for lunch and then get into our next agenda items.
All right, before we get to the comments, anything, so I should, yeah, bring the question up, like, yeah, what systems, think, like, there are some things in there in the Washington State, do's and don'ts that can be helpful as you're also thinking about then your role and what values and operating principles you hold here. So, we can also potentially revisit these and well, I'm gonna try and get those scenarios.
That's these.
Yeah, so you can just kind of compile them and I'll collect them all and I'll mix them all up, so I have no idea who said what. Okay. What I wanna just close with, so we spent a lot of time diving into a lot of things just around like how we show up, how we work together. You have two last cards, a green and a yellow index card. Yes. And this are just commitments for, the green card is gonna be a personal commitment. This is for yourself. You're not gonna share this. This is just for you as a board member, as a student representative, as superintendent. What you are personally committing to. A commitment, what are they? What one commitment I will make to help me better live into the values, principles, and responsibilities of board service. So for superintendent might be to support the board or to support students in the district. And then the yellow one, which I am gonna invite you to share out for the collective group, and then we will collect those, is going back to your headlines of the future and what we imagine today. What is one thing you hope this board will consistently practice together to make the imagined future a reality? So you're making a collective board commitment or hope. And that is what we're gonna share out. All right, we'd like to share out their collective commitment. So, Lauren's ready.
I basically just said that I was gonna do my homework, continue to learn the rules and make sure that as a constitutionally sworn in individual, that I'm actually following the rules that I committed to, not just the ones that I.
We're showing our, the yellow part, the,
Yeah.
collective minute, yeah.
I said, having students be the center of our decision making, always continue to learn and adapt. Use our policies and ground rules as a base of fostering the transparent, courageous, righteousness, curiosity, and respect. For, yeah. So basically our values and group agreements.
There's somewhat similar one, student-centered decision-making and hold the system accountable for improve student outcomes.
I had use district funds and create standards that have direct and measurable student improvement outcomes.
I had a couple of bullets. Student-centered system thinking. A lot of times system thinking is centered around thinking in systems. So I want to be intentional around that, be intentional to exercise and encourage that amongst our board to have the courage to pursue the difficult challenges for the best outcomes of Tukwila School District, as opposed to most efficient or expedient. You know, have the courage. We're in a time where we have to be intentional. You can get a lot of quick fixes, but our culture lacks a committed to dig for complex answers to complex questions. Also enrich the environment in our board that fosters curiosity, to ask the right questions and be open to build trust in the motives of our team members, as opposed to assuming the inquiry is always some hidden motive. I want to be intentional to develop trust so we can have that and respect all voices and enforce that respect as our value.
I said that, listen to student voices while understanding not all of it is possible everywhere.
That's really.
Love that, yeah, listening. Still listening, valuing what's being said, and holding. The takes time, we have to do everything.
I wrote, support the school board in bringing a collaborative, student-focused board that takes a continuous improvement mindset to board governance and values-driven decision-making.
Yeah. All right. Thank you all so much. It is lunch. I'm gonna come around at the yellow cards that I've posted, but I'll know your attention.
Yellow cards.
And
Okay.
turn it over.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much, Julie, for taking the time out of your Saturday to do this. Again, thank you to all the guests and all the directors and everyone who is in attendance right now. We will be taking a brief 18-minute recess. We do have our architect and associate coming in at noon to discuss the PAC modernization plan. So I'm going to start this recess at 11:42, 18 minutes.
So can people grab their lunch?
Yeah, grab your lunch.
I bet it's a working lunch.
Yeah, it's a working lunch. Okay, we are recording again. The time now is currently 12:01. Came back a little bit late. Apologies for that. We are still waiting on our representatives, right? Oh, they're on? Okay, perfect.
Hi, everyone. You able to hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Awesome.
You want me to say something? Want me to say something?
I'm not sure on this one. Are they doing a presentation first and then Liliana? Liliana, absolutely.
So, thank you everyone for giving us this opportunity to talk about the HUD project. We have invited, I'm sorry, my name is Liliana Cárdenas, Director of Maintenance and Operations. We have invited, the architect of the firm, Jay Henson. We also have online, Robert Smuggling, he's a principal for the Hugh Shot, and he's a theater consultant. And we also have online Swing Hee Kim, he's BCE Engineering. To get a little perspective of this meeting, we had a conversations, this is our, I believe, our second conversation on the park remodeling. The original park project was stopped due to funds to be very available, and that happened in 2023. At that time, we had a complete project to remodel the Performing Arts Center, and the budget at that time was $4.5 million to complete that project. We went all the way with architectural drawings, and contracted the contract, have a contractor on that one, we went for a bid. And the bids at that time came from came up to 3.14 million, 3,150,150, and with some alternates work in there. Due to the project that was stopped, then we didn't do too much in the next couple of years. And we had conversations about doing something on the park and finding some funds for the project. So at that time, we thank you for Amy. She provided us a budget of $2.4 million. At that point, we got together again between the architects and the engineers and the consultants, and met with the students and the theater teacher, and came up with a project that it will be for 2.4. At that time, I presented it to you on the April 24 meeting, I believe it was. I presented to the project. Now, on our last board meeting, I presented to you the projects that I need to do. On that list, I included the park, but I included the total amount of the projects, the $5.4 million, including some cost, inflation included in there. So that's why it's at 5.4. So with that said, I presented you actually 3 options, right? Option number 1 is to see if we can decide to move forward with the whole project. That's a $5.4 million. But with that said, then we will need to do some thinking about it, of what projects we can hold, so we can have the whole remodeling done. That's proposal number 1. Proposal 2 is going for the $2.4 million, alternative 1 and alternative 2 that we presented to you on the April meeting. So helping us respond to any question that you may have, there were technical questions. That's why we invited our architects and our consultants to this meeting to have a conversation. All right, so now I leave it to you for any questions and comments.
So I'm looking at this, option one, okay, I get that, option two and option three look to me like they're just phasing in. So are you saying,
Option one, it is the,
Is everything.
5.4, is everything.
and
And option two
just
is,
do the primary ones first,
right, the
and
2.4.
then do option three later?
We can do that as funds are available. So, if you don't remember on the April 26th, we have the option with 2.4, and I provided two alternatives. The alternative that the students decide which was doing all the, lighting, the audio, and the painting, and alternative number, 3 that shows on here, which will be the rigging stage and the seating part. So option number 1 will be the full pack remodeling. Option 2 will be the student's decision to do the lighting, outer, and painting. And option 3 will be the rigging stage and seating.
So it would still be,
1, 2, or 3.
I'm still not, it sounds like option 2 and 3 are just a phasing in of in other words, option 1 is do it all.
Correct.
Option 2, are you saying option 2 is only do the primary scope and option 3 is only do the secondary scope?
Correct.
Okay, it wouldn't make any sense to me to just only do the secondary scope. It doesn't. Okay, I don't know why that's particularly on there, but, okay.
Well, but that was because we don't have enough money to do all the projects.
Right. Right.
So the decision was made that when we had the $2.4 million, the decision said, okay, we have enough on the 2.4 to do lighting.
Right, the
And the
primary,
primary,
Right.
so which we have, and then we will kind of be short on that. The second option was, okay, we're gonna do the rigging, but then it wouldn't be good to add lighting into the second option because it would move us well beyond the 2.4 that we have. Because lighting is a big project in itself.
right.
So moving it to the lower, it won't be enough funding that we have. So that was why I made that 3 options to make a decision on what we would like to do.
It still seems to me that there's 2 options. One option is do it all. The second option is do the first part first and then do the second later.
Yeah, if I could chime in, that is accurate. Yeah.
Okay, so in my mind, it's actually 2 options. Either do it all at once or do it in phases.
Okay, yeah,
Okay,
we can for another year, we can do not on the summer of 2027,
right,
but the following year.
right,
Yeah, we can do that too. Yeah.
okay. The other,
Hold on, Dave. You gotta, well, no, we wanna make sure we're going through sequencing, so please.
I'm sorry, Dave, I'm gonna give back to you. You were asking a series of questions. Okay.
so, and I want, Pardon to chime in on this too, but, so part of the thing when I was trying to figure out was what's included. So we had this category called distribution, controls, dimmers, which originally there wasn't a definition of. Now you added in audio speakers.
Right.
Because it wasn't clear to me what distribution, so in your mind, distribution is speakers?
Yes, can you, Jay, can you respond to that one, please?
Yes, and if Robert's available, that's his line item, so like he can give the best description of.
Oh, on the distribution?
Yes.
So, hi, I'm Robert. I'm the theater consultant. Distribution are the actual plug-in boxes that the stage lights will plug into. The existing ones are kind of outdated and need to be upgraded.
Okay, so, and then when you say audio speakers, which right now we have one big audio speaker on top of the stage, correct? And so what are we talking in terms of audio speakers? What I hear and what I've seen at a lot of other performing arts centers is they have side speakers, which are important for music output. So what are we talking about? Are we talking about replacing 3 speakers? Are we talking about 2 speakers? Are we talking about?
And you can see on the plan that I gave you, yes, we do have one speaker on the very top, on the theater stage on top. If you go to the second page, you're gonna see where the other speakers. So we're planning to install 6 loudspeakers and 2 subwoofers.
Okay, so you have the top speaker on top, 2 side speakers, and it looks like a couple of speakers in the back. Is that what I'm seeing here?
No, in the middle of the.
Oh, to the subwoofers.
It's right in the middle of the pathway, or right in front of it, not all the way in the back.
Like, this is like, this.
Okay. You
Three up front.
It makes sense to you, okay.
Yeah.
I'm consulting with my expert over here. Who's understands, just so, maybe for those of you online, Art Russell she's does a lot of work with the dramas and she's one of the technical coordinators. I guess you wouldn't probably tell technical director, but anyway, she understands a lot of the stuff that's going on. I just want to make, part of my thing is this, I want to make sure that the folks, Mr. Baldoff and the students understand all the details of this and it makes sense to them. You know, that's what I'm trying to get to. So it sounds like the speakers, yeah, that's a good collection of speakers.
Yeah.
Which wasn't clear to me before, but yeah, this makes it better.
Because in the original document from April, it really didn't seem like there was any audio, but this one does show, which is good, because what we need audio-wise is processing amps and 3 speakers, but if there's 6 speakers, that's really good.
Director Sherlock, did you have questions? So.
Yeah, I was gonna ask a question about the new lighting. What capabilities beyond what we have today? I understand, let me just say that, understand, everything wears out. You know, have to get a new laptop, have to get a new jacket, you have to get new things. But what capabilities will this new lighting system have that's beyond what we have today? Again, keeping in mind that, yeah, I understand the other system's old, but what features will it have that we don't have currently?
Robert, would you please respond?
Yeah, this is Robert again. Well, we have 2 types of lighting systems for the auditorium. One is house lighting, the other one is stage lighting. I'll talk about house lighting first. The existing house lighting system is an older analog system, control system that is completely outdated. Parts are no longer available. So we are going to upgrade to a digital system, which is cleaner and will last for about 20-25 years compared to the analog system. Along with the house light fixtures, the current house light fixtures are all incandescent fixtures, which eat up a lot of wattage as well as produces a lot of heat. We are upgrading to an LED house lighting system to where we will have a higher lumen output for the auditorium, as well as we will reduce the heat load and also the wattage. With the stage lighting system, the current stage lighting fixtures are all incandescent. Incandescent lamps only last roughly between 500 hours up to 1,000 hours, then they burn out and have to be replaced. We're upgrading the stage lighting fixtures to LED, which has a 50,000 hour lamp life. The newer stage lighting fixtures not only produce white light, but they also can do colored light and change colors from the fixture. In the old days, you'd have to get up on a ladder and use, change out the color media to change colors. The stage lighting control system, what they currently have is now outdated. They no longer produce parts, nor will they repair the existing control system. So that all needs to be upgraded to the current standards of control that is being used in other schools as well as colleges and on the professional level.
Thank you for that explanation. It's very helpful. I'm gonna get, do you do this type of work for other performing arts centers throughout Washington State, or?
Yes, I just recently, the company that I was formerly with, we did Mukilteo, Kamiak High School, which is about a little bit younger than Tukwila, but it just recently went through a modernization and all new updated equipment. So this is something when the district decides to renovate, this is kind of the procedure that we would follow. If you decide to tear down and build new, then we have a similar standards that we follow, but yeah. I've had probably 50 high school auditoriums under my belt that I've done over the years, so.
Did you say 50?
50, yes. I did, I don't know if you're familiar with in south of Tacoma, there's Franklin High School. I did Tahoma High School. Stewart Middle School went through a little minor renovation a number of years back. What else? I've done a lot of high school auditoriums over the years, so.
Perfect, thank you. Direct copy on, did you have a question?
I had a question, I'm looking at the attachment, which was the PAC bid tab. Wondering if that's relevant information for us when reviewing it, because this document is from 2023. Were those the quotes? Those were the bids from the companies. I'm trying to understand, looking at them, it looks like they're all in the $3 million mark, but the full PAC remodel were at 5.4 and the limited PAC remodel were at 2.4 mil. What can you maybe help me understand? Is this relevant? The bid tabs that we're looking at from 2023, is that as far as?
I can speak to that. Again, Jay Henson here, Henson Architects. That bid tab is really provided just more as a historical reference from where we were, now 3 years ago. Of course, there's always inflation. It was also provided so that you could see previous alternate bids. We were considering the 3 check marks were the ones that we had determined would be the most useful to our project. With this full project, the 5.4, it would again be assuming that we're doing all of the previously checked boxes, and in addition, all of the base bid as well.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I see it. Thank you.
No matter what, we have to think about timetables and everything else and shutting down PAC and having operations open for when students get back into play. So I don't think a full PAC remodel is going to be within a feasible scope, especially with Amy. I believe there's not funds there for it.
Yes, Amy Fleming, Chief Finance and Operations. So that is accurate. So if the board considers and wants to move forward with the model of 5.4 million, we have items on our list for facilities operations for next year that would have to come on. And so what is it that would come off of this list? In doing so, you have a risk of some, a critical repair that suddenly we don't have funding for, that we would have to push off. And so even though we have this list that is prioritized, we also do set aside some capacity for those unknown situations that might take place, so that we can pivot quickly if something were to come up. So, like I said, if the board decides that they want to move forward with the full 5.4 million, there are things that we have prioritized on our list for next fiscal year that would have to come off. As you recall, I did a presentation of what the capacity is in the capital projects fund. Realize that this is only one component of the work that we do in capital projects. We have the whole technology levy side. And that cost for next year alone is about 3.5 million, which includes all of the tech levy salaries and benefits, plus all of the planned projects that they had built out in their 4-year tech plan when we went out to the voters in 2020. Again, they created a plan. There's inflationary costs associated with that as well. So that 13 million is now down to 10 plus some set asides for contingency purposes. So that means that we're not having quite enough funding to do the 5.1 budget. Or if we do, what is coming up next?
Okay.
And what's not on this list are other items. I mean, this is what we've created as the top, kind of the top list. But we have a whole project list for deferred maintenance that we look at every single year to determine what the priorities are and what's becoming more and more critical. So, yeah.
And I do want to point out something that was brought up for Aiden before I get to you, Derek. It sounds like the internal wiring, or correct me if I'm wrong, the internal wiring is pretty spliced together. With,
As far as I'm aware.
yeah, so again, in my head, as a former construction worker safety guy, and I know, it would probably be best to start with the rigging and stage and making sure that we get our lighting control boxes figured out so we don't have a student get shot or fall, or heaven forbid, something happened with the drapery and it collapses on someone. So I guess my question is, are there current outlines of safety issues that we have?
For the fly system and rigging, the safety of that is checked either every year or every other year by AT Productions. Austin does a safety check, and I'm pretty sure that includes the entire pack, so that would be electrical.
It doesn't?
No, the rigging inspection is only the weight system and how it moves throughout the stage. But that is not electrical, it's weight.
Yeah.
So that's the inspection that they do.
Okay. So electrical, I don't know as much about, but I know that the rigging is perfectly safe as of now.
Then it sounds like lighting and audio is the way to go. I leave the rest of the discussion to the board. I just want to get that clarification out there. I'm Director, like you had a point.
I just want to ask a question. I'm on memo 5/30/2026. And it says in the base bid here, it says associated code and accessibility improvements. When I go over to the 4/28 memo, again, I want to make sure I'm on the right sheet. I'm not singing from the right sheet of music, please let me know. When I look at the primary scope, I'm not seeing that on there. So it seems like, am I misreading that, where the base bid has 2 additional items where the other memo in April doesn't seem to list those on the table? Yeah, please. Yeah.
Liana Cardenas, right. The April memo shows only the 2.4 fund that was provided to us. So we had to go to the table, the architects and the engineer, with the students, and decide what is that we would like to work to have with a 2.4 million. Now, like I said, that memo from today it in option number one includes the whole project. So yes, there is a difference.
So the base bid is in the 5 million plus.
Correct.
Okay. Because, I'm just like everybody else, and I'm not trying to, throw sand in the cog here, but when I see fire suppression system, I kind of see that as critical. If we're not meeting city codes, county codes, whatever codes may be, I really would put that one right across the top. Fire suppression system to meet current requirements. And then other associated code accessibility improvements. If there's people that want to attend that are in a wheelchair or need other special assistance, by all we want to make sure that happens. So it seems like that would kind of be in the first key elements that we're trying to do. That would be on our list that we want to do right away.
If I could add some context, please,
Please.
Jay Henson Architects. The thought behind the fire suppression was that was going to be taken care of sooner than our project would be. So that wasn't within the Foster Pack modernization project, as that would already have been completed, considering it's a hot item. Now that there's discussion about doing the full project and moving forward rather quickly, it's then been discussed about including it in our project. Whereas when it was initially proposed, the list that you've been seeing, that's why it wasn't included.
Yes.
Thank you for that explanation. That's helpful. Let me ask you the question on this backfill lighting. I'm not trying to jump around. Typically, and I always think of, if you're going to go buy something, there's the standard model, there's the there's the deluxe model, and then there's the top end model. And when I'm looking at the lighting here, which is, I understand lighting isn't free, and this stuff is all costs a lot of money. Where are we at in reference to that? Are we looking at a system that's at the top end of the scale, middle end of the scale? Or is this like in your basis of doing over 50 high school auditoriums, or is this at the basic level?
I would say this would be in the middle of the road level because the type of use that this auditorium gets. I can guarantee you we did not gild the lily on this job, so we kept budget in the forefront.
Well, and I'm not accusing anybody of overbidding anything. No, not at all. I'm just merely saying, when we look at your experience of doing 50, which is very impressive, certainly tip my hat to you on that. But I'm trying to find out, when I look at the costs on here, where are we at on there? Are we looking at like a base model? Are we looking at something in the middle? Are we looking at something at the top end?
He said right in the middle.
Yeah. I'm just explaining so he doesn't think that.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are a couple of other questions. So there's this item called AV and low voltage cams, mics, data boards. What is that exactly?
Audio video.
You have it on the original one, you had it kind of not in the primary, so kind of excluded.
Is Kyung Hee on the? I can't see attendees.
Yeah.
So this is Kyung, BCE, and now we call it GFT. Anyway, so audiovisual microphones, a camera, intercom, data outlet, all these items are very straightforward, but the AV system is audio and all the speakers in the pack area, amplifiers, including the speakers, monitors, all the softwares, and the microphones or microphone, just self-explaining, and the cameras and intercom systems, and that's what the item is for.
I guess when you're talking about microphones, to replace microphone or added the wearable microphone, that's already been done.
Yes, that one was done.
And the boards, so are we talking about the soundboards?
The soundboards were already done.
And we're already done. So it sounds like, and then the question is, cameras for what?
Is it cameras from the stage that have screens in the dressing room or classrooms or backstage?
Well, I have to look into that one.
Camera
Yeah, the cameras.
is in the front of the where the control center toward the actual stage.
So if the big folks that are sitting up in the control center upstairs,
Right.
looking down, they're gonna have a monitor in front of them just showing the stage,
Correct.
but they can already see the stage just by looking out the window.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Liliana, obviously this is going back 3 years, but wasn't there also a desire for like streaming performances and recording performances for community viewing?
Yes, they were. That was brought by Gabe. He would like to have that at that time, 3 years ago.
Okay, I mean, so right
Yes.
now what's happening, I mean, so the performance or, the choir performance the other night was, recorded. Somebody just put a camera
And put it
kind
on,
of
right.
right in the middle and recorded it. Well, yeah, right. So I think, I'm trying to figure out which of these, if there's anything in there that's really necessary, and what we're getting to, it sounds like either it's already been done in terms of mics and the floors, or it's not really high on the list of the cameras, and I don't know what does data mean?
That be cables?
The only thing I can just think about the cameras, I think even just for equipment purposes, right, to have something up close. We can't rely on parents if they're gonna be recording, we can't have a system. I'm not saying that it's not like a now thing, I'm just thinking in general. I will say that I would prefer to have our own system of a camera so that we're not relying on volunteers or external things that, especially for recording, live streaming, like to stream, like when the award ceremony, so that parents that can't come can have access to that. There's a lot of potential possibilities.
Yeah, when I'm looking at this one, though, it's like $336,000 for all of these, and I'm trying to think apart, if there's parts of it that are needed, I can't imagine spending $300,000 on cameras.
Yeah.
In the past, we've borrowed cameras from the photography class in yearbook.
I guess the only question is how available would it be to remove an item of that scope?
I'm just trying to pick that one apart and figure out, is there a piece of that we need?
I guess my question is it in the current scope of
It is.
work?
Not in the.
Not in the primary scope, no.
So it's only the yellow highlighted items on that list, I believe, that are in the current.
The primary scope, right, so
Primary
the,
scope. Items that are not highlighted are not currently in the scope of the 2.1.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to figure out. Is there something in there that probably should be, or a portion of that should be? I don't know. And the other one is the one right below it, monitors for including mounts and AV. Again, what are
Right,
the
so-
monitors used for, or
So-
would be used for?
the intention of this one, that's the one that you're
Yeah,
looking
yeah.
at. That was all the cost, the original
Right.
thoughts that we had. And that's where we kind of presented, and it was within our 4.6 million
At the
budget
time,
at that time.
Right,
So that's what, and then we had several meetings with the theatrical people. We had meetings with the city also as well. What's her name? So to make sure that we had the best theater with the money that we have at that time. Now, so in order for us to do a 2.4, we had to pick and choose what we wanted. And what we thought, the first is number one, safety.
Mhm.
So lighting is in a way a safety situation. The rigging is also a safety situation. So drapery is also its safety. So we had to pick and choose what we could do with that amount of money. So a lot of stuff had to be dropped off to come up with that.
I'm just trying to make sure that the things that were dropped are in fact,
Yeah.
the things that should be dropped, because when I was showing this to Mr. Baldock, for example, several of these things, he was saying, well, I don't understand what that is.
Right.
And so I'm just trying to make sure that we get all, I mean, I'm generally, I think, or the same way, supportive of, the phase, putting the lighting, and I think that's right to do that. I just want to make sure that, and then do the rigging stuff, secondly, in phase two. I just want to make sure that there aren't I initially was concerned about the sound system, and it sounds like that's in good shape. And these last two items, I just want to make sure we understand, if there's a couple of those in there that, if we needed to add another, 10 or 20,000 or something to get something that would be really helpful, then, let's consider doing that. But
Okay.
that's all I'm trying to get to on these, if there's anything in there that's, and it sounds like, Dr. Bills was talking about, it'd be helpful to have some ability to record things without having to set up a separate camera. I don't know how much that would cost to add that. Would that break the bank here, or was that something that could be done relatively
Right, so we
simply?
will have to go back to the
Yeah.
table and figure out the cost. And we will have to see what Amy can provide to us. So,
It sounds like what I'm hearing from Mr. Waldo is it's probably not a big deal, and then I'm hearing Dr. Burrows say it would be nice, so.
So when I say it's nice, like it may not be the priority right now, but
Okay.
eventually down.
Okay.
One of my always thing is making sure that if we can afford it, of course, number one, but that we have the systems and pieces in place so that we're not relying on volunteers so much or having to pay outside sources. The more we can make sure that the equipment is there to support, because we also rent facilities, right?
correct.
We could, like, that is something like down the road, like if people wanted to record or live stream, we could add like that as a cost, right? That just so we could, it could add value to our rental support, thinking even just revenue or even sustaining, eventually replace the cost at some level, like because of the development, it's an enhancement. But I also recognize that we need to prioritize what we truly need right now. So when I say that, I'm not saying now, I'm saying in the future, if it's a possibility, to make sure we have the support and systems in place for a solid program. Because we have a lot of families that don't feel they can come to certain things, just making sure we have options for them. Big families with disabilities, families, for various reasons that maybe need access in a different way to see their students thriving and performing.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right.
Did you have to?
No, I said that's a good point.
Okay. So, again, I just wanted to bring up the issue about when we're talking about enhancing our systems. We have to know that there are a lot of PACs and a lot of high schools and things that do have some pretty modern systems. So when we talk about upgrading it to maybe more attractive to people who want to rent it, you're kind of walking into a zone of a lot of competition. And that, I'm concerned about that because, as I said, when you start adding like video cameras and things like that, you're also increasing your opportunity for maintenance and damages throughout the year. And so obviously when these systems break down, and they will break down, just like your car, just like the furnace in your house, they break down. And the more systems we add to this, the more capabilities, the more maintenance that we're going to have throughout, the out years. And that's going to cost us more to keep up. And additionally, as we enhance the PAC, you're gonna also have to let your insurance company know about that. And so that creates higher risk, because they're always concerned about what their payouts are gonna have to be. So, as I said, safety is something I'm always looking at, but it isn't just a cost that we're looking at today, it's a cost that we're looking at in year 5, year 7, year 10. And as these systems age, they're gonna break down, we're gonna have to pay people to fix them. And as I said, you probably will have some insurance premium hikes. So if there's a business case that shows, hey, we got this system into the pack, and we expect that we could get 20 more rentals a year because of that, well, that's a great business case. But just at this time right now, I don't see it personally. Again, I'm not trying to be a wet towel. I'm just trying to be, I don't want to create a problem for people this board 10 years down the road that, oh my gosh, look at the system. It's costing us all this money and we're not getting all the benefits out of it. It takes a lot of it out of their yearly budget.
From my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, our construction representatives, you guys said it was a 20 to 25 year life. But they still on.
I'm sorry, is that directed to me, the theater consultant?
Our representatives that are online, sorry, I can't remember your name.
Okay. If we're talking about, let's say, the stage lighting system, currently your stage lighting system has reached it's come to the point where it needs to be replaced. Which translates into it's starting to fail, and they've already called up for repair. And that includes the house lighting system. When we first started the project, we were told on numerous occasions about the house lighting system failing in the auditorium on numerous occasions. So the electronics for the stage and house lighting system is failing, and like I said, due to the age of the equipment, there are no longer parts available. So we're kind of forced into needing to replace the equipment. With the stage rigging, technically a stage rigging system will last if it's been taken care of, inspected yearly, the stage rigging system will last for about 25 years. You're at 35 years. You're 10 years beyond the capacity of the equipment, and it needs to be replaced. So right now, I would say that from an insurance perspective, the liability on the rigging system is much higher because, the rigging is over people's heads, the actors' heads. So.
Yeah, I think maintenance on the existing system is going to be more than.
Yeah. I mean, right now, you guys do have a fire curtain for that stage, and that fire curtain was recently was inspected and updated because it wouldn't fly in. So anyway, yeah, maintenance. I understand the maintenance issue, but with the stage rigging, for example, it's recommended that you inspect your rigging either on a yearly basis or at least every 2 years. And that's what the folks at the auditorium does.
Horton had one first.
I have 2 things regarding lighting. Firstly, I've talked to Mr. Baldock, and with the new lighting fixtures, like stage lighting being put in, since Director Sherlock, you were concerned about the cost of that, we've talked about if it would be okay to slightly reduce the amount of fixtures if we need to save money, because they can be moved around. It's not the end of the world if we have a few less than what's planned out. So that is something that could save money possibly. And secondly, the plans have house lighting and stage lighting, but I'm curious about work lighting. Would that also be replaced with LED?
I believe that. I don't know. Let me just check some drawings here real quick. I don't recall if we're replacing any. We are replacing some work lights, but not all of them.
Right, because looking on the document from April, house lighting and stage lighting are there, but, work lights aren't highlighted. But that was one of the things that we do need replaced to some degree.
Understood. Any further discussion?
I was just gonna say that, back to our technical experts' point, the staging, the rigging is on the second set of items, so that's the secondary thing. During our last meeting, I spoke about that rigging as one of the things, one of the concerns that I had, is that seems like that should be moved to the top. So again, going back to my original point when I was speaking today, when we're talking about safety issues, they should always be to the front, in my way of thinking. You're mentioning about the rigging, you know, and I do agree, if you are operating equipment that's elderly or beyond the service life, you know, that can be an insurance concern as well. And certainly the maintenance costs, but, what I was speaking about is as we advance our features, the capabilities of the pack beyond what it has today, that is where we start looking at, do we have a business case to do that? That's when we start looking at, we have to let our insurance company know so there's a higher liability, we'll pay more for that yearly. So I'm like everybody else, I don't want to see us using old systems, but I want to see us using the right systems that's reasonable for what the pack is used for. It isn't Benaroya Hall, and it will never be Benaroya Hall. And certainly we don't want a pack that's, you know, way out of date so that people don't want to rent it. You know, they don't want to sit in seats that are split and that, you know, the PA system doesn't work at all or doesn't work well. Can't have that. Or it's grungy or anything like that. But I just want to make sure that we're right sizing it, the right capability matches to what our needs are.
We are actually, we haven't done yet our inspection on the reading this year. It's on schedule to do during the summertime. I would say that also the work that we have to do on lighting is a little bit complicated. So picking and choosing, let's say, the reading and choosing some of the lighting, it will be costly, right? Because, and it will be costly in the long run, because if you're taking electricity to one place and the other one, then you're going to do it all at once instead of doing in parts, which are gonna be more expensive. Yeah. What I think is that doing the primary scope, if we are going for the 2.4, will be better dollar wise, and have and wait for our rigging inspection and see what it comes, and then move it depending on that report. Then see what we need to do right away for that. So what I'm trying to say is that once you start with electrical work, you cannot do just on parts. Okay, I'm gonna do this part, just do it all at once, because it's gonna be costly if we keep separating and picking. We want lighting for just this area, or lighting for the stage, or just for the housing. It's all lighting. So when you start with one work, just do it all the work that we need for lighting, which that include on the 1.9. Now, the reading, I know that we are on the end of a lifetime, and I'm hearing from Mr. Larson, that we can move that one with other funds probably by the following years, for the following year, and then incorporate that one at that moment then, if that's the consensus. But what I'm hearing is that you're going more for the 2.4. And if this is the choice that we have, then I would say, let's do all the lighting. Let's wait for the reading inspection, and then see how bad or how good we are on with that inspection, and then move faster if we needed to do, or then wait for the next available funds.
And I'd like to, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm speaking for myself, I'm also leaning towards the option 2, which would be the limited remodel first, and yeah, just to see where people are at.
And what I'm hearing from Mr. Bullock and the students is that, yeah, doing the lighting and audio one first and then the rigging second, because I think they have mechanisms in place to deal with the safety issue. The only issues for me kind of outstanding are, already brought up that may require a little research. I mean, this is work that's not going to be done this summer, and it's going to be done next summer anyway.
Yeah.
And so we have some time to play a little bit with this, but is the LED stage working? They didn't really, that sounds like something that would need a little work to address. And then the other one is the system about the recording system. And that could potentially be done as a phase 2 thing. But if it's, part of it, a lot of it depends on how much money we're talking about. If we're talking about a little amount of money, then it may be just as well to do it within the current thing. But so those 2 items in my mind would require a little work, and then, but I think it's basically, with those, I don't know, do you agree with that, Aaron? Jason? Okay, and then, so then we can decide, it's the basic structure is, I think, good. It's just with those 2 little things we can examine and see if they could be they need to be worked in either to phase 1 or phase 2.
Okay.
Yeah, and really quickly before I call on you, with our students playing with these wires and in these control boxes that are, from what I'm hearing, not safe, I leave to operations to understand where the rigging is safe to be handled. If this is what you believe is right, absolutely 100% agree that's Director Sherlock and then Barton.
Arden had spoken about, I want to take a step back on this lighting here. Arden spoke about that there was the possibility that we could reduce some of the lighting as it's laid out here in option 1. And I'm just wondering, to our technical experts on the phone, how much could it be dialed back and still, through the process of students moving it as, during intermissions or whatever the case may be, and still be usable? Are we looking at maybe $100,000 savings, $10,000 savings, or by reducing the amount of lighting to the level that she was speaking of to, how much money are we looking out, or that could be saved on option 1?
Just to narrow that question, the L&I requirements for lighting or that amount of space.
Well, I think that you were referencing the lighting for stage.
Correct, but there's a certain amount of lighting that is required.
Does the reduction lighting then mean that we would not be meeting the requirements of state? Again, this is directed towards the people, the technical folk who are in the room.
This is Robert, by the way. The current quantity of stage lighting fixtures is shown to be able to light what I would call light the entire stage if you had no scenery on it. Now, stage lighting fixtures obviously are portable equipment, so we can reduce the quantity of fixtures, but we need to come to an agreement about how much can we reduce in order to light the stage properly. Maybe we just have enough to light half the stage. I'll just use that as an example. But with portable equipment, that's something that you can always add on to that package year after year, or when you have the funding. So Um, right now, the quantity of fixtures that's being shown on the drawings, and there is a what I call a stage light plot that's included in the construction documents that shows what these new stage lighting fixtures will be covering on stage. So right now, there's enough fixtures to light the entire stage if you had no scenery on it, but we can reduce the quantities, but just bear in mind that you'll only be able to light so much of the stage when you start making reductions. So,
Thank you for that explanation.
yep.
This is one of those things that, if we're all together and we're over in the pack and, walking through this thing, it would probably even be easier to understand it. We just have to ask more questions to become clear on what the need is and what the intent.
Yes, I think that sometimes it is easier to kind of do a walkthrough, and that way, the design team can kind of point at things so to make it a little bit more clear on what we're trying to do. So,
Any further discussion? Seeing none, thank you so much for your time. I think we're closing up on this, right? Unless we had anything from our operations.
Do you have anything to add on?
So what's the next step? So you do a little research and then come back.
Research on,
The two questions I was talking about the recording, adding that capability into the system, either figuring out how much it would cost and then either recommendation, put it in phase 1 or phase 2, and then the stage.
let stage,
The stage
LED
working.
stage,
Do you have a good question on this?
and the recording
working
system, right?
It's just whether they are also being replaced, because that's one of the things we do want, LED work lights.
Yeah, so I have here LED stage. I have a recording system, and then I have work lighting. So the question is, where do we put these into that project?
First of all, what are the costs? We need to
What are the
figure out
costs,
the
right,
costs.
and
And
where do
then,
we put it
yeah,
into?
phase 1, phase 2.
Phase, okay.
I mean, if they're relatively small costs and they can be fit within the phase 1, great. If not,
Okay.
but it sounds like for you, this stage working is a pretty high priority.
Decently high.
Decently. Okay.
All
So
right,
then
and
the
then
question is,
also-
when do we come back and resolve some of these?
Right, the question will be when we come back. So I'm hearing that we sense to me that we're going to the 2.4. Right, and then we're gonna, and that's what I'm hearing, and then we're gonna have 2 stage work. Phase, I'm sorry, 2 phase.
Right.
Phase 1 and phase 2.
Right, on this additional ask. So
Yeah, and-
we will determine the cost and bring that back to you and give you our recommendation whether we can do it in phase 1 or phase 2.
Right.
And so I don't know how quickly we can come up with those numbers, and whether we can get it to them, but you, by the end of June, or if it's gonna be July.
Yeah, I mean, nothing's gonna happen on this until not this summer, but the following summer anyway, so.
Correct, yeah.
But it would be helpful to firm this up, because maybe then you could go out and get some bids.
Yeah.
More bids and then being able to do sidewalks.
Sorry.
More bids and being able to do sidewalks with contractors.
Oh, right, so what we're gonna do is, once we have, we approve the project, and then we move forward, we're gonna have to go again for another bid, and we will have, we will go through that process.
Yeah.
Through that process. Any questions you have, Jay or Robert?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on project timeline. Yeah, we will need to go back through and discuss with City of Tukwila, depending on what's decided on the full scope for this phase 1, on if we need to go through permitting again. This is now 3 years old. Of course, it's expired, the previous one. And what we would like to do, just like in the previous project, when we actually bid it in August, planning for installation in summer of 2024. We would like a similar timeline. I don't think August is happening, but somewhere in the fall of 2026 of bidding this project, specifically because lighting has long lead times. So that gets us a contractor on board after school board approves their bid, so they can order materials and then it's ready on site once students are out of the school for summer of 27. And then it's just about installing everything. My worry is, the mindset that this isn't happening until summer 2027 doesn't mean we can really wait until spring of 27 to bid, strictly due to lead times of equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to keep it moving. It sounds like we can do that.
Yeah, but otherwise, thank you very much. Nothing else from me, Lilian. I'm not sure if Robert or Kim have anything.
The only thing that I would have to say, this is Robert, by the way. I will be in Seattle June 7th through the 16th. And if any of the school board wants to do a walkthrough of the auditorium and stage, I'd make myself available to do so if that is of any interest.
Appreciate that.
Sure.
I think that would be very, very helpful.
Yeah, that would be helpful. I'll invite the students to.
Right.
Yeah, get that opportunity.
We can schedule, we work with Robert's schedule, but day works for you, and we'll work with them. Thank you.
I feel much better about the sound system. That was one of the big concerns, so I feel a lot better about that, so that's good.
All righty, any other discussion before we close out this agenda item?
Yeah, if we don't violate quorum, I would be interested to potentially join the walkthrough as well.
Absolutely, and as we get a little closer, we'll work that out logistically. Seeing nothing else, we will move into our next agenda item. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, just one clarifying question. Deb, is our official board meeting in time 1 o'clock?
It is.
Yes, so, okay.
That's why I was gonna call to next. So seeing in the interest of time, we are past our 1 o'clock deadline. I already checked with Deb. We do not need a motion to extend this, and this is gonna be a quick conversation. So closing out with TSD and TPMG PD with no objection from the rest of the board. If you have to leave, I understand. Basically, where we're at right now is we are in consensus of moving forward with that due to community or cited community and the fact that we want to continue this. I have 4 documents that were sent to me by the TSD or TPMPD. They said that it was only informational, so I will get clarification if it's accepted to bring to the rest of the board. I have not personally gone through them yet, but I will definitely send the lease agreement to our legislative representative to kind of peruse through. But essentially where we're at is they are attaching a conceptual site layout and preliminary 3D rendering illustrating what redevelopment of the current Tukwila Pool site could potentially look like, a sample restrictive covenant template associated with King County Parks levy grant funding requirements, which generally require the property or facility receiving funds to remain protected for public use for a minimum of 30 years. A copy of a current lease agreement between Renton School District and the City of Renton supporting the development of the Family First Community Center Foundation and Health Point. They cited this specifically as informational purposes, so I did not send it out yet. I will get the final approval from them. I'm just curious, legislative rep, would it violate any rules to send out that?
I guess I'm not sure why you're saying, I thought when you said send it to the legislator, I thought you send Lisa to our district.
Okay.
Attorney representative.
Okay.
I don't really have.
Okay,
we want, any leases, we want to be approved by our attorney, not me.
I just got this within the last couple of days,
Yeah.
so I'm not sure the proper procedure to this, so it sounds like we'll send it to Dr. Drozen and send it out to the lawyer, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Director Sherlock.
I just want to ask a question. This is before some of us were on the board. I was here, and maybe you guys are listening in on the call, but there was the discussion about purchasing the property. Is that gone?
That's off the table because we're
That's
not
off the
finding
table.
conditions we can't sell anyway.
Okay. We just hadn't, I don't think we've talked about that publicly, and I just think the public has a right to know.
Totally good.
Because there was a I would say it was a strained and almost a heated conversation by the board at that time about the unexpected desire to purchase the property. And we're saying that that's no longer going to happen.
That's no longer an option for us at all. The main thing is their own facility and what they would like to accomplish and whether or not we re-up the current negotiations. So it sounds like based on this email, again, I haven't gone through everything, but the 30 years having a recapture, again, I know that was kind of a testy word on the last one, but they talked to me specifically what they meant by that. And that was at least a 2 years notification before any potential selling or breaking of lease or anything else like that. They just want to be able to have a little bit of a heads up that, hey, we're going to do all of these renovations to the building. Why do we want to do that and then get kicked out in 5 years? Type of deal. So I totally understand where they're coming from. And if we're moving forward with general consensus again, I will make sure that I get approval for sending this information out. I will make sure it gets to the lawyer right away and then we go from there.
Just to be a little clear, the district could still sell the property. The question that came up was, there was a law that was passed that says if you are buying in conditions and you can sell property and then you can put that money into the operating budget, as opposed to normally if you sell, you have to put it into the capital projects. Mm-hmm. And so when we went out of binding conditions, we couldn't sell it and then put it money into the general operating agreement, which frankly is not a great idea anyway, because the operating agreement is, needs to be sustainable. And so, just to be clear that by removing that, the district could still sell that property. The previous board, we decided that we don't want to do that. Selling a piece of property in the middle of one of our complexes. That's a whole discussion we could have again potentially.
Yeah.
Just to be clear on that.
No, I appreciate that. It's again, learning. So thank you.
And because it did kind of get a little muddy because that we were working on just an ongoing lease agreement and then this thing came up from the legislature and it kind of got a little sidetracked. Yeah, selling the property and they picked up on that really quickly and then, no, we don't want to do that. And so that it did it muddied the water a bit for a while. And so, and the other thing I would point out as far as the recapture, we're under some RC, some legal thing. But anytime that a district, leases the property, there has to be some kind of recapture. We have some flexibility in whether it's 2 years or, all that's available to be negotiated. But we do have, school districts are required to have some kind of recapture ability in the contract of some sort. So that becomes a legal issue that needs to.
Yeah, I'm 100% down to just send it straight to legal. Yeah. I was asking if it was allowable for you to peruse it without breaking any sort of. I still want to get a petition from them before I start sending out this stuff, but.
Yeah, sure.
I think what President Warren is trying to just clarify is that any communication that's going to be done is, they weren't wanting any action, like they weren't wanting any sort of action commitment from the board. Right. It was just a matter of like, hey, we're potentially thinking of a long-term lease. Right. Is that something?
Yeah, excellent. So just a little short history, just for everyone, just for the public, is one, we already started this route around expanding because I think there's 5 years left of current lease agreement. And so we already started that route, as Director Larson said, then the purchase piece came in the middle. And there was various reasons why that happened, that I think the pool was interested in pursuing different grants as well. So they felt that ownership might be would be more advantageous in terms of securing grants, and then let it go. Now we're back to this expansion of going back to the original request of the lease agreement. So sort of starting over, but kind of not. So I will say as you all have access to, they've submitted a proposal, we've submitted them a proposal. So now it's just a matter of just fine tuning that and working through that piece. I think there'll be a few pieces. We already have a lawyer on retainer who's come and talked to the board. If we need to do that again down the road, to bring them back to come and talk to the board about specifics, when it gets closer to the end, we're happy to do that. But just wanted to clarify just some components of the the timelines that actually happened over the last year, gosh, now 2 years.
I think the only issues, we've gone down the leasing and there was a whole issue about the parking and shared parking and we kind of worked out an MOU on that.
Yeah, we have a.
So that one's kind of
That's
taken
set.
care of.
Mhm.
And then the other one is just the terms of the lease, that one got confused because we were, how much should we charge in terms of a rent or lease? And there was the original one said, well, we're not gonna charge anything if the district gets some value in terms of being able to, have PE classes come in there. And then we never had any PE classes come in there. And so we never got any money. And then we were supposed to get money based on, the stormwater fees and that we never charged. Anyway, there's a lot of details in there that just they're workable. We just need to sit down and just continue that process.
And they're on the same page. That's
Yeah,
basically
yeah.
what they were saying.
Yeah,
But again, I will need a little time in this. And again, like you said, the waters are muddy. And I talking to them for a couple of weeks is like, oh, what's going on, really?
But it could be worked out.
Yeah, it could absolutely work out. Thank you again for the clarification. Again, to specifically cite that these materials that are being provided are for informational, comparative purposes only. To support the upcoming decision, no action or commitment is being requested at this time, so it's not like we're in a big rush as of communication towards them for this lease, but we definitely want to make sure that we're working with them as partners because they do want to start doing that program again. And it sounds like they have the grant money to transport our elementary students, so we might be able to do that.
Yeah.
Which would answer some of the public comments that I saw in that meeting too.
Great.
All right, so it sounds like we're in consensus. I will get the final approval, send it out to the rest of the board if they're okay with it being open. I've already emailed us open to public disclosure, so I'm sure they will be, but I want to make sure we're on the up and up. So with that, I will move, or does the chair have a motion to adjourn?
So,
Second.
All those in favor? Motion passed. We are adjourned at 1:13. Thank you, everybody, for spending your Saturday here with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.